If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description.
Chapter 51, Potential Project. Lucas's phone buzzed with a message from Vincent, his agent. A tinge of excitement sparked within him, quickly replaced by a flicker of hesitation as he read the contents. Vincent was offering him a potential audition for a project named Twilight, a franchise that Lucas knew all too well. Having witnessed the series' meteoric rise to fame in his previous life, Lucas was aware of its complex legacy. Twilight was undeniably successful, a box office juggernaut despite its share of criticism and even reports of dissatisfaction among some cast members. The 2008 film had cemented its place in popular culture, and the franchise was riding a wave of momentum in 2009. While the role Vincent mentioned was a minor one, a part of Lucas couldn't help but balk at the prospect. He was familiar with the criticisms leveled at the series, the passionate, and sometimes negative, fan base, and the potential impact on his career trajectory. While the initial popularity was undeniable, Lucas was also aware of the franchise's future trajectory, one that he wasn't entirely comfortable aligning himself with. Despite Vincent's evident enthusiasm and belief in the opportunity, Lucas ultimately declined to pursue the audition. The potential drawbacks weighed heavier in his mind than the immediate allure of the project. Twilight's been generating a lot of buzz, that's for sure, Vincent acknowledged, a tinge of curiosity in his voice. Are you absolutely certain about passing on this opportunity? It could be a real career launcher. Lucas hesitated, weighing his words. I appreciate the offer, Vincent, truly. But I've considered it carefully, and I have my reasons, he said, a slight tremor in his voice. Vincent remained silent for a moment, letting Lucas's decision hang in the air. Finally, he spoke, his tone understanding. All right, I respect your choice. If you're looking for other projects, you're always welcome to come by the office and browse through what we have. While Vincent respected Lucas's decision to decline Twilight, he couldn't help but feel a pang of missed opportunity. He believed it held immense potential to launch Lucas's career further. However, instead of dwelling on the what-ifs, Vincent poured his energy into supporting Lucas, presenting him with a diverse array of new projects to consider. Lucas didn't waste any time. The next day, he found himself at Vincent's office, the familiar cityscape bustling outside the window. Vincent greeted him with a warm smile and a genuine clap on the shoulder. Great to see you, Lucas, he said, his eyes twinkling with friendly encouragement. Are you prepared to explore additional potential projects? Lucas nodded eagerly, the prospect of new projects stirring a spark of anticipation in his chest. Absolutely, he replied. I'm open to hearing about anything that catches my eye. Vincent's smile widened. He gestured towards a stack of scripts neatly arranged on his desk. Well, then, let's get started. We have a diverse range of films and TV series projects here, each with its own unique appeal. I've already highlighted a few that I think might be a good fit for you, but feel free to explore them all and see what speaks to you. Lucas eagerly pored over the scripts and proposals sent by Vincent, each one a potential path forward. One particular project caught his eye, instantly sparking his interest and creative fire. Meanwhile, Vincent also received an unexpected call from the producers of Modern Family a few days ago. They called him to reprise Lucas' role in a guest appearance, a testament to the positive impression Lucas made during Lucas' earlier stint on the show. Actually, Lucas, Vincent began, a hint of excitement in his voice, your song Perfect has been generating quite a buzz online. Several record labels have contacted me, expressing interest in signing you for that track. Lucas raised an eyebrow, surprised. They contacted you? How'd they know you're my agent? Vincent chuckled. After you signed with IAA, your IMDb profile was updated. I added my contact information as your agent, of course. Now, production companies and labels can see you're represented. He paused, a thoughtful expression on his face. Your song has already gained some traction, particularly among Modern Family viewers who heard it in the episode. Lucas fell silent for a moment, processing the news. Suddenly, he remembered Samantha. Well, he started, I already promised my friend I'd record the song together with her. Vincent's surprised expression softened as he caught the word her. A woman, then? He queried. Yeah, Lucas confirmed, eyebrows furrowing slightly. Why does that matter? Vincent waved his hand dismissively. It doesn't, not really. Just remember, as your agent, my main concern is your career trajectory. Relationships can be distracting, especially at this stage. Lucas chuckled wryly. Don't worry, Vincent. We're just friends, nothing more. With that, Lucas picked up a script that had caught his eye from the pile on Vincent's desk and headed towards the door. Vincent watched him go, a flicker of surprise still lingering in his eyes. Inception, hey! He muttered, intrigued by Lucas's unexpected choice. Lucas had indeed snagged the script for Christopher Nolan's mind-bending thriller, his fingers tracing the title etched on the cover. The lead role, Dom Cobb, was practically destined for Leonardo DiCaprio, who'd likely been in talks for months with Christopher. But Lucas wasn't aiming for the protagonist. His gaze landed on the character of Arthur. This wasn't just any project. It was one Lucas had admired in his previous life. The chance to be a part of Nolan's vision, even in a supporting role, was a dream he couldn't ignore. It felt like a chance to connect with a past passion, a way to bridge the gap between his two lives. He took a deep breath, excitement and nervousness battling within him. Inception, he murmured to himself, the word tasting foreign yet familiar on his tongue. Chapter 52, New Discovery in Ability. Lucas devoured the script, his eyes tracing the intricate details of Arthur's character. Described as sharp as a razor and quick on his feet, Arthur wasn't just another member of Cobb's dream heist team, he was the linchpin. Beyond his intellectual prowess, the synopsis emphasized Arthur's unwavering loyalty and trustworthiness, qualities crucial for navigating the treacherous terrain of the subconscious. He delved deeper, his heart quickening as he landed on the section detailing Arthur's specific role. As the point man, he would be the architect of the dream world, crafting a seamless illusion for Cobb and his partners to operate within. He'd be the guardian, the silent conductor orchestrating the flow of dreams, shielding the team from unforeseen threats and ensuring their safe passage through the labyrinthine layers of another's mind. A wry chuckle escaped Lucas's lips as he closed the script. While he harbored an ability strangely akin to the characters in Inception, he was keenly aware of its limitations. It helped him delve deeper into roles, but the comparison ended there. He knew of no one else with such a talent. Perhaps it was a quirk of his own mind, a gift from his previous life. He sighed, the weight of his ambition settling on his shoulders. He closed his eyes, visualizing himself as Arthur, the young and ambitious point man from Inception. He recalled the character's every nuance, the loyalty in his eyes, the quiet strength beneath his youthful facade. Minutes ticked by, the mind workshop, his internal training ground, refusing to activate. Frustration gnawed at him. Maybe this role isn't enough, he muttered, more to himself than anyone else. He forced himself to calm down, recognizing the futility of pushing. Instead, he shifted his focus. Instead of solely inhabiting Arthur, he sought to immerse himself in the world of Inception itself. This was another reason he'd chosen the project. Beyond his love for the film, he harbored a hidden hope. Could his Inception ability, this elusive mind workshop, be honed by fully stepping into the dream-bending universe? He had felt its faintest flicker during his first attempt, a tantalizing glimpse of what might be possible. So, Lucas did away with the pressure of embodying Arthur. He focused on the intricate architecture of dreamscapes, the dizzying layers of the subconscious, the thrill of navigating a world sculpted by the human mind. He let the film's imagery wash over him, the score a haunting melody guiding his descent into the depths of Inception. Despite persistent attempts, the doors to the mind workshop remained firmly shut. Frustration gnawed at Lucas. He hadn't encountered such resistance since he tackled the grueling role of Aaron Ralston in 127 hours. He'd poured every ounce of emotion and physicality into that performance, the mind workshop readily yielding to his passionate immersion. But Arthur, from Inception, presented a different kind of challenge. A complex character, yes, but perhaps not one that ignited the same level of raw intensity. The character of Arthur, unlike Ralston, didn't require the same depths of emotional and physical intensity. Lucas suspected that this lack of challenge was hindering his ability to tap into the mind workshop. Is it only demanding characters that trigger it? He wondered aloud, a hint of doubt creeping into his voice. But then a different thought struck him. If my ability helps with acting in general, he reasoned, why wouldn't it work for simpler roles too? He knew that overthinking things could be counterproductive, so he decided to approach Arthur with a fresh perspective. Instead of forcing his way into the mind workshop, Lucas focused on embodying Arthur organically, without overcomplicating the process. He delved into the character's motivations, his loyalty to Cobb, his quiet strength beneath the youthful facade. He envisioned Arthur's movements, his voice, his presence within the dream world of Inception. Minutes ticked by, filled with a deliberate yet relaxed immersion. Then, a subtle shift. The world around him seemed to blur, the edges of reality softening. And as Lucas focused on the intent of activating the mind workshop, a familiar sensation washed over him, a gentle descent into the depths of his own consciousness. Moonlight draped across the traditional Japanese garden, filtering through the woven branches of bonsai trees and casting long, skeletal shadows. The air hummed with the faint chirping of cicadas, a melodic counterpoint to the steady rhythm of rain tapping on the tiled roof. Inside the serene mansion, Lucas found himself with an unfamiliar man beside him. Lucas's eyes darted around the dimly lit room, taking in the intricate details of the Japanese-style office. A figure, shrouded in stillness, sat across from a flamboyantly dressed man. Their hushed conversation, punctuated by the scent of incense, felt distant, dreamlike. Then, the blond man's voice broke through the haze. "Sato-san," he said, his words heavy with assurance, "your concerns are unfounded. We are professionals." A strange sense of familiarity washed over Lucas. He looked around again, and a jolt of realization hit him. He wasn't in the sterile white room anymore, he was standing within the mind workshop, the intricate architecture of his consciousness mirroring the scene from Inception. It worked. A silent scream echoed in his mind. His ability, the mind workshop, had not only transported him into this imagined space but also conjured characters from the film. The blond man, his bearing unmistakably DiCaprio's, was Dominic Cobb, his eyes gleaming with the same predatory intensity. And across from him, the Japanese man, exuding an air of quiet power, was Sato, the cunning businessman. Lucas took a moment to marvel at the space, its ethereal architecture bathed in a soft, dreamlike glow. This wasn't just a training ground, it was a testament to his unique ability, a testament to the possibilities that lay hidden within himself. But as his initial excitement subsided, a new discovery dawned on him. His ability, the mind workshop, wasn't just about internal exploration. It seemed to possess a curious mirroring effect, mirroring the world of Inception itself. As Cobb and Sato continued their tense dialogue, Lucas found himself mesmerized. He observed the subtle shifts in their expressions, the way Cobb's hand rested reassuringly on his shoulder. He felt a spark of pride when Cobb introduced him, the casual Arthur a welcome confirmation of his presence in this dreamlike world. Sato, his gaze sharp as obsidian, noticed Lucas's silence. "What's the matter with your friend?" he asked, his voice raspy with suspicion. Cobb chuckled, a familiar warmth in his voice. "Haha, Sato, no need to worry. Arthur's my partner, as trustworthy as they come." He winked at Lucas, a silent message of camaraderie passing between them. Sato, studying Lucas for a moment longer, finally gave a curt nod. "Arthur, hey," he said, a hint of intrigue lingering in his voice. Chapter 53, Fan? The moon cast its ethereal glow across the tranquil Japanese garden, painting the meticulously manicured bonsai trees with silver streaks. Cicadas chirped in rhythmic harmony with the gentle patter of rain on the tiled roof. Within the serene mansion, a hushed intensity filled the air. Lucas, embodying the suave demeanor of Arthur, sat across from the charming Cobb and the watchful Sato. Leonardo DiCaprio, flawlessly portraying Cobb, leaned forward, his voice laced with conviction. "Once an idea has taken root in the mind," Cobb said, his gaze unwavering as he met Sato's, "it's nearly impossible to eradicate. An idea that is fully formed, fully understood, that sticks." Sato remained silent, his eyes narrowed as he savored his meal. Cobb tapped his temple with a slender finger. "Right here," he declared, his voice echoing in the stillness. Sato's lips curled into a sardonic smile. "For someone like you to steal." Lucas, seamlessly slipping into Arthur's professional persona, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, unconsciously echoed a line from his memorized script. In the dream state, he murmured, his eyes glinting with a practiced intensity, "Your mental defenses are weakened." He straightened, his posture radiating authority as he resumed the polished facade of Arthur. "That makes your thoughts vulnerable to theft. It's called extraction," he concluded, his voice ringing with an almost palpable confidence. His hand, a blur of practiced elegance, darted out, his fingers weaving through the air as if plucking an invisible object from the ether. Lucas inhabited Arthur, injecting him with a subtle undercurrent of vulnerability that peeked through the cracks of his carefully constructed persona. His gestures, precise and deliberate, underscored the weight of his words, each movement adding another layer of depth to the character. The scene, infused with Lucas's exceptional talent, crackled with unspoken tension. As Arthur, or rather Lucas, elaborated on the concept of dream extraction. The longer the conversation stretched, the more the vibrant reality around him began to shimmer, losing its sharp edges and vibrant colors. Hues bled into one another, the meticulous garden blurring into an abstract canvas of greens and browns. The rhythmic chirping of cicadas faded into a soft hum, the rain's patter replaced by a growing silence. Cobb and Sato's gazes lingered on Lucas as Arthur, their expressions unreadable. As the conversation unfolded, a subtle shift began to permeate the room. The crisp air of the Japanese mansion seemed to grow hazy, the moonlit garden blurring at the edges. Lucas felt a disorientation creeping in, a sensation akin to reality losing its focus, its colors washing out like a fading photograph. Before he could fully grasp it, the world around him dissolved. The ornate tatami mats, the whispering cicadas, the distant rumble of thunder all vanished into a swirling vortex of light. When the light subsided, Lucas found himself back in his own stark apartment, the familiar bare walls and worn furniture welcoming him back to reality. Hit the time limit, I suppose, he mused, fingering the book still resting on his lap. The events at the mind workshop replayed in his mind, vivid and exhilarating. Arthur, no, Lucas, was flooded with emotions, the thrill of inhabiting another persona, the challenge of navigating Cobb's intricate dream maze, the satisfaction of pulling off Arthur's meticulously crafted performance. The familiar chaos of New York City swirled around Lucas as he navigated the bustling sidewalks. He was on his way to meet Samantha, hoping to squeeze in a recording session before heading to the Modern Family set. The weight of the upcoming guest appearance gnawed at him, the time crunch a familiar foe. Lost in thought, he barely registered the curious gaze of a young woman until her voice cut through the urban din. "Excuse me, are you Dylan?" The question, unexpectedly soft, halted him mid-stride. Lucas turned, meeting the gaze of a young woman whose eyes widened with a genuine mix of surprise and excitement. He blinked, momentarily snagged by the name. "Dylan," he echoed, a slow realization dawning on his face. Modern Family's impact had been greater than anticipated. In the usual New York throng, anonymity was the norm. Yet, here on this bustling sidewalk, someone actually recognized him. "Yes. You're Dylan from Modern Family." Linda, her stylish bag swinging happily, beamed. Lucas, still navigating the uncharted territory of newfound fame, chuckled shyly. Yeah, that's me." He felt a prickle of self-consciousness as curious glances flickered their way from passers-by. He wasn't exactly Brad Pitt, and so far, only Linda's enthusiasm seemed to pierce the usual city indifference. Linda's face lit up further. Can we take a picture?" she stammered, almost vibrating with excitement. Meeting one of her favorite characters, an impromptu vacation highlight, this was too good to be true. Of course, Lucas reassured her, the awkwardness giving way to genuine warmth. They snapped a quick selfie, then chatted for a few minutes, Linda gushing about his character's latest storyline and Lucas savoring the genuine human connection amidst the urban anonymity. As Linda, a tourist from Arkansas, finally bid farewell, the warmth lingered. A single fan, amidst the millions, might not seem like much, but it was a reminder of the ripple effect his work created. Even if New York indifference often reigned, somewhere, someone's life was brightened by a character he breathed life into. And that, Lucas realized, made it all worthwhile. Lucas's quest to catch Samantha at the bar proved fruitless. The friendly waiter informed him she wasn't working that night. Calls and texts went unanswered, suggesting Samantha was indeed occupied elsewhere. With an early flight to the Modern Family set beckoning, Lucas had to reluctantly abandon his plan for the recording. Back in his apartment, he shut down the mining software humming on his computer. His efforts had yielded a respectable haul, 78,000 Bitcoin. Remarkably, given Bitcoin's mere 6-month existence, a total of 1.1 million coins had already been mined. He recalled a story from his previous life, a single individual accumulating a fortune through early Bitcoin mining with a basic computer. The potential, Lucas mused, was undeniable. Anyone with a computer, no matter how humble, could potentially mine hundreds of coins a day, securing a future of financial freedom. Yet, uncertainty lingered. Knowing the future was impossible. While some embraced the nascent cryptocurrency, countless others remained oblivious to its potential. The world, it seemed, was largely unaware of the digital treasure trove hidden in plain sight, waiting to be unlocked with a simple download and a bit of processing power. Lucas sighed, a tinge of melancholy in his eyes. The future, with its possibilities and pitfalls, remained an open book. He could only hope that the choices he made, both in his personal life, career, and in the ventures of Bitcoin, would lead him down a path of fulfillment. Chapter 54, London. Returning to Los Angeles for his guest appearance on Modern Family this time, Lucas felt a shift in the atmosphere. Gone was the intense buzz that had surrounded his debut as Dylan in episode 4. It wasn't a disappointment, exactly, but a subtle acknowledgement of the show's established rhythm. Lucas understood his role. Dylan was a charming supporting character, and while his portrayal had resonated with audiences, ultimately, the narrative spotlight rested on the core family dynamic. His chance to share a mockumentary scene with Sarah Hyland, who played Haley, had been a thrilling experience, a rare opportunity for a guest to participate in such a signature aspect of the show. Yet, it remained just that, a delightful cameo within the larger framework. He knew the series followed a planned storyline, and while his performance as Dylan had undoubtedly helped build the character's popularity, it wasn't meant to radically alter the show's trajectory. He hadn't been cast as a game-changer, but as a well-placed piece within the existing puzzle. There was a quiet satisfaction in that reality. The joy of inhabiting Dylan, of contributing to a beloved show, remained undimmed. While the whirlwind spotlight of episode 4 couldn't be replicated, he was grateful for the chance to revisit this vibrant world, even for a fleeting moment. Perhaps, he thought, that was the true heart of guest appearances, adding fleeting bursts of color and texture to the ongoing tapestry of a long-running narrative. Lucas's return to the Modern Family set was a quieter affair compared to his electrifying debut as Dylan in episode 4. Yet, the familiar energy of the cast and crew warmed him as he settled into Jay Pritchett's iconic house for the evening shoot. The scene involved Dylan and Haley contemplating a party, only for Dylan's attention to get hilariously hijacked by a captivating cowboy show on TV. Much to Jay's secret delight, the couple ended up cozying up on the couch, engrossed in the Western drama. As filming wrapped, Lucas found himself mingling with the cast. The lingering memory of his song performance from episode 4 still hung in the air. That song was incredible. Sarah Hyland, who played Haley, exclaimed, beaming. She wasn't alone, several cast members expressed their desire for another rendition, with Sarah even confessing to adding it to her playlist. After enjoying the warm camaraderie, Lucas returned to his hotel, his Modern Family journey far from over. The next day, he stepped onto the set for the Fizbo episode. This time, Dylan's party plans took an unexpected turn, as Haley's jealousy flared due to his interaction with the exotic jungle Tanya. Alex's well-meaning, yet slightly mischievous, comments only fueled the fire, culminating in Haley's impulsive release of a venomous scorpion, a scene that promised hilarious chaos for viewers. Bidding farewell to the production after filming, Lucas exchanged heartfelt goodbyes with the crew, cast, and even the show's creators. Their shared laughter and camaraderie left him with a bittersweet feeling of completion, yet also a spark of excitement for what lay ahead. The IAA had already secured his next move, London, England. The city beckoned, holding the promise of an audition for Christopher Nolan's Inception, a project under the prestigious banner of Emma Thomas Production. Lax buzzed with pre-flight energy as Lucas navigated the familiar routine. Checking in, navigating security, and grabbing a final coffee filled the hours before boarding. Stepping onto the aircraft, anticipation hummed alongside the engines, promises of London's embrace waiting across the ocean. The next 10 to 12 hours became a blur of cloud-draped horizons, in-flight movies paused and restarted, and the comforting rumble of the plane. Then, a subtle shift announced their descent, anticipation crackling like static in the air. London Heathrow stretched below, a tapestry of twinkling lights and sprawling runways. As the plane taxied to its gate, Lucas's senses sharpened. The airport, even at this late hour, pulsed with a distinct rhythm. A symphony of announcements, rolling suitcases, and excited chatter filled the air. Passengers of all nationalities and backgrounds streamed through corridors. Amidst the bustling throng, Lucas felt a thrill of excitement. The familiar chaos of Heathrow mirrored the whirlwind adventure waiting for him, the Inception audition, a chance to work with Christopher Nolan, a potential turning point in his career. He inhaled the city's air, a blend of jet fuel and city grime, and grinned. Emerging from the bustling Heathrow crowd, Lucas hailed a taxi, the city lights painting a vibrant scene beyond the rain-streaked windows. He already had the audition details tucked away in his pocket, the promise of Emma Thomas Productions' Inception waiting just beyond his current weariness. Nolan's film had gathered a formidable team, with Warner Brothers providing the financial muscle and Legendary Pictures joining as co-producers. But for now, Lucas's focus was on the haven of his hotel room, booked by the ever-efficient IAA. The exhaustion of playing Dylan, the long airport wait, and the adrenaline rush of arrival had finally caught up. Sinking onto the bed, Lucas felt the tension melt away, replaced by a welcome wave of stillness. This was a brief pause before the next act, a chance to recharge and prepare for the audition that could change everything. The early London sun cast a soft glow as Lucas emerged from his hotel room, anticipation humming beneath his skin. Stepping into the crisp morning air, he hailed a taxi, his destination, the Warner Brothers studio facility, where Emma Thomas production had set the stage for Inception audition. Excitement bubbled in his chest as the taxi glided through the city streets. Reaching the imposing Warner Brothers building, Lucas stepped out of the taxi, taking a moment to absorb the iconic logo etched above the entrance. With a deep breath, he entered the bustling studio, greeted by a welcoming receptionist. The IAA's meticulous planning had already paved the way. Lucas's details were readily accessible, streamlining the process. A quick confirmation with the receptionist, and he was ushered into the office, a sense of smooth efficiency replacing the usual pre-audition jitters. This, Lucas realized, was the quiet privilege of having a solid agency backing him. Chapter 55, Arthur. The air crackled with anticipation in the waiting area of the Warner Brothers London branch. Lucas, heart thrumming a nervous rhythm, scanned the wall where a list of actors vying for the same role as him lined the peeling paint. Each name held a story, a whisper of ambition and anxieties mirroring his own. The half-hour wait felt like an eternity, each second punctuated by the tapping of restless fingers and the muffled murmur of whispered lines. Finally, his name was called. A bead of sweat trickled down Lucas' temple as he took a deep breath and pushed open the door. Inside, the stark white walls of the audition room were softened by the gentle hum of fluorescent lights. Christopher Nolan, every bit the auteur Lucas had imagined, sat perched on a folding chair, his gaze penetratingly sharp despite the warmth radiating from the stage lights. Across from him, casting director John Papsidera leaned forward, pen poised above a notepad already brimming with scribbled notes, a single coffee cup keeping him company on the table. The air crackled with a palpable tension. Lucas's initial nervousness flickered back, but he remembered his training in mind workshop, the rehearsals, and the sheer passion that had brought him this far. "Introduce yourself, boy," John Papsidera, the casting director, said with a casual directness. Lucas took a breath and met John's gaze. "My name is Lucas Knight, sir. I'm 19, and I'm here to audition for Arthur." He placed his information sheet on the table, and Christopher Nolan, seated across from John, leaned forward to peruse it. A thoughtful silence filled the room as Nolan scanned the listed credits, a supporting role in Modern Family and a lead in 127 Hours. "Lucas Knight, 19 years old," Nolan finally murmured, his eyes meeting Lucas's. "Fresh-faced indeed. While I wouldn't say I'm confident about your age for the role, your resume does spark some curiosity." Lucas nodded, a mix of trepidation and resolve settling in his chest. "I understand, sir," he said. "But I assure you, I've immersed myself in the script, and I'll give it my all." John smiled slightly, a rare warmth flickering in his eyes. 19, he mused. "Well, you wouldn't be the first surprise find. Let's see what you can do, then." Nolan, intrigued by Lucas's quiet determination, leaned forward and interjected before John could proceed. "Before we jump in," he said, his gaze fixed on Lucas, "I'm curious. What's your take on Arthur based on the script you received?" Lucas took a moment to gather his thoughts, the weight of Nolan's question settling in. "Arthur," he began, "from what I've read, Arthur comes across as a fascinating paradox. He's undeniably skilled, a master of his craft, always a step ahead with his meticulous planning and execution. He's the sharp edge that keeps the team focused and on track. Yet, there's a curious restraint to him. While others on the team seem to revel in the dream world's boundless possibilities, Arthur seems grounded, almost analytical. I get the sense that his strength lies in finding innovative solutions within the confines of the dream architecture, rather than pushing the boundaries of imagination itself." The London audition room held its breath as Lucas finished presenting his interpretation of Arthur. Nolan looked at him, a contemplative crease forming between his brows. His silence stretched for a moment, then a hint of a smile played on his lips. "Interesting take," he finally said, his voice as measured as Lucas's demeanor. "All right, Lucas," he continued, gesturing to the script. "Let's see it play out. Take it from the top, Arthur explaining the dream architecture to Ariadne in Mombasa. Lucas nodded, taking a deep, centering breath. His eyes closed for a moment, then snapped open, his expression shifting from calm to a carefully guarded alertness, a flicker of wry amusement dancing in his eyes. He stepped into the space, becoming Arthur. The scene, Mombasa, Arthur explaining the labyrinthine world of dreams to the inexperienced Ariadne. Lucas, as Arthur, addressed the empty space, his voice a low rasp that resonated with quiet authority. "There's nothing quite like it," Arthur said, his gaze fixed on an empty corner of the room. Yet, in that emptiness, Nolan and John could almost see the object of his attention, the silent interlocutor with whom he was engaged in a private conversation. A pause hung in the air, as if Arthur waited for a response, a silent exchange that only he could hear. Lucas fixated on an empty space, yet his gaze held an unsettling intensity, as if he were truly engaging with an unseen presence. A beat of silence hung between them, pregnant with an unspoken exchange, before Arthur, with a hint of playful sarcasm, offered, "Shall we take a look at some paradoxical architecture?" As he spoke, a subtle smile curved his lips, his hand reaching out, tracing phantom contours in the air. For Nolan and John, it was as if an invisible object materialized under his touch, tangible yet unseen. In that fleeting moment, they witnessed the magic of imagination, the young actor breathing life into a character, blurring the lines between reality and performance. Nolan and John exchanged a knowing glance. They'd seen countless actors imagine their scenes, but with Lucas, there was a tangible presence, a feeling of unseen walls and tactile sensations that weren't there. With a nonchalant hand in his pocket, Lucas as Arthur began to pace the room. "You're gonna have to master a few tricks," he said, his voice laced with a hint of wry amusement. The lines flowed effortlessly, his gestures precise yet measured, his expression a subtle tapestry of intelligence and veiled vulnerability. The scene faded, leaving a quiet hum in its wake. Nolan and John exchanged a long look, their faces betraying a mix of surprise and a nascent respect. Finally, Nolan broke the silence. "You surprised me, Lucas," he said, his voice low and contemplative. "Your interpretation of Arthur, it wasn't what I expected, but it was undeniably fascinating. A quiet intensity, a subtle manipulation of the space. Very interesting." Nolan smiled faintly. "Theatrical, yes, but not in the least overblown. You found a way to embody the character without resorting to melodrama. It was compelling." Lucas, still lingering in the echo of Arthur's facade, took a deep breath and exhaled a wisp of nervous tension. "Thank you, sir," he murmured, acknowledging the praise yet not basking in it. Nolan's smile deepened. He saw potential in this young actor, a raw talent and an intelligence that seeped into his performance. "You seem to inhabit the character quite naturally," he observed, even after the scene ends. "That's a rare gift, Lucas." John nodded, adding his own compliment. "You brought a depth to Arthur that I wasn't expecting. There's a vulnerability beneath the control, a hint of something hidden that draws you in." Lucas felt a warmth spread through him, a mixture of relief and hope. He knew the role was a long shot, with Joseph Gordon-Levitt already in the running. But the genuine appreciation in Nolan and John's eyes made him dare to believe. "We'll get in touch with you again soon," John said, breaking the silence. "We have a few more actors to see, but you've made a strong impression." "I understand," Lucas replied, his voice steady. "Thank you for the opportunity." He left the studio, walking into the bustling London sunlight, his mind teeming with possibilities. DiCaprio, Inception, Arthur, words that once felt like a fantastical dream now seemed tantalizingly close. This was just the beginning, one audition in a long journey. He would carry Arthur's lessons with him, the meticulous planning, the quiet confidence, the hidden depths, and strive to weave his own dream on the larger stage. Chapter 56, Decision. London had become Lucas's base camp, a city pulsing with energy even as he navigated the quieter paths of his audition dreams. He found solace in the warmth of its pubs and the hearty simplicity of English cuisine. He devoured shepherd's pie, the robust earthy lamb filling a welcome contrast to the creamy embrace of the mashed potato topping. Each bite of bangers and mash was a symphony of textures, the crisp snap of the sausage casing giving way to juicy, savory pork, all cushioned by pillowy mash laced with hints of pepper and onion. Beyond the delectable world of English cuisine, Lucas's true playground was the mind workshop. Delving into the labyrinthine depths of his own consciousness sharpened his understanding of Arthur's intricate world. He navigated the corridors of his subconscious, dissecting emotions and motivations, translating them into subtle gestures and nuanced expressions. This internal exploration, invisible to the eye but palpable to those attuned to his performance, further deepened his portrayal of Arthur, leaving Nolan and John increasingly impressed. Days after the electrifying audition, Lucas sat in a sun-drenched cafe, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee swirling around him. He savored the lingering memory of meeting Joseph Gordon-Levitt, the actor who brought Arthur to life in his past life. Though their encounter was brief, a glimpse across the audition hall revealed a shared passion burning in Gordon-Levitt's eyes. The script clutched tightly in his hand, he mumbled lines under his breath, rehearsing openly even amidst the nervous energy of the waiting actors. Lucas saw in him a dedication that mirrored his own, a testament to the profound pull of the role. While the timeline of Inception seemed curiously delayed in this reality compared to its filming in Lucas's previous life, this discrepancy was attributed to the inherent differences between the two worlds. It was a subtle shift, like a tremor in the fabric of time itself. The most obvious example was the filming of 127 Hours. The audition process for Arthur followed a familiar rhythm, echoing Lucas's experience securing the role of Aaron Ralston in Fox Searchlight's 127 Hours. Cold reading, the crucible of instant interpretation, tested his ability to inhabit the character's skin on the spot. A scene materialized, a challenge thrown down, and Lucas responded with an immediate connection, his voice and body weaving a tapestry of Arthur's essence. Impressed, the director and casting director called him back for further rounds, delving deeper into specific scenes. This was a dance, a nuanced exploration of range and adaptability. They watched as Lucas interacted with other cast members, including Ellen Page, their chemistry sparking and fizzling like controlled lightning. Witnessing Joseph Gordon-Levitt rehearse with other actors, particularly a captivating scene with Ellen Page, was an unexpected bonus during the audition process. It felt like a glimpse into the world Lucas might inhabit, should he land the role of Arthur. The air crackled with a subtle tension, not between the actors, but in the weight of the opportunity at stake. Later, during the callback rounds, the director, Christopher Nolan, and casting director, John Papsidera, threw in their curveballs. Improvisation scenes and character exercises tested Lucas's creativity and spontaneity, demanding he think on his feet and adapt to the unexpected. He thrived under pressure, his mind a whirlwind of possibilities channeled into nuanced performances that resonated with the casting team. He knew he wasn't the only one pushing boundaries. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, an established actor with a magnetic presence, was his formidable rival. They both carried the weight of Arthur's complexities, each etching their own unique fingerprints on the character. The competition was fierce, a silent tug-of-war played out in stolen glances and hushed conversations. They knew they wouldn't cede the role easily. Arthur was a prize worth fighting for, a character that resonated with both of them on a profound level. But even as they dueled for the spotlight, a sense of respect simmered beneath the surface. As the callbacks reached their climax, Lucas knew the decision weighed heavily on Christopher and John. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee hung heavy in the air as Christopher Nolan and John Papsidera sat at a corner table in the bustling cafe. The weight of the recent Inception auditions lingered between them, unspoken but palpable. Didn't expect such strong contenders for Arthur, John finally broke the silence, his voice low and gravelly. Christopher nodded, sipping his coffee thoughtfully. Two vastly different approaches, yet both captivating. He paused, letting the words hang in the air. They had witnessed Joseph Gordon-Levitt's seasoned prowess, a masterfully nuanced performance. Then there was Lucas, a youthful whirlwind, raw talent pulsing beneath his every twitch and breath. The young one, Lucas, John began, eyes fixed on his notes. He brought a youthful charm to the role, something undeniable in his presence. Christopher took a thoughtful sip of his coffee. Lucas, yes. He's rough around the edges, but there's a spark there, a fire in his eyes that mirrors the character. Potential, John agreed, his voice laced with a hint of admiration. He's got that, all right. Raw talent waiting to be sculpted. But then there's Joseph, John added, a hint of admiration coloring his voice. Experience, poise, an undeniable command of the scene. The air crackled with unspoken questions. Was it Joseph's seasoned professionalism that swayed them, or Lucas's untamed potential? Joseph, though, Christopher said finally, he was impressive. A seasoned performer, bringing his own depth to the role. John chuckled, a knowing glint in his eyes. So, you're choosing experience over potential? A seasoned veteran over a wild stallion. Christopher chuckled in return, his gaze returning to the notes. It's not that simple, John. It's about finding the right fit, the actor who embodies the essence of Arthur, not just on paper, but in their soul. He tapped the note with a finger, his eyes distant. Lucas, he surprised me. He wasn't what I expected, but somehow, he captured something I didn't even know I was looking for. A vulnerability, a darkness, that aligns perfectly with my vision for Arthur. John nodded slowly, the weight of responsibility etched on his features. If that's your vision, Christopher, then the choice is clear. Silence descended, punctuated only by the clatter of the cafe and the soft tapping of Christopher's pen on the notepad. He stared at the notes, two equally brilliant names staring back at him, two paths branching before him. Finally, with a resolute sigh, he circled a single name, the ink marking the end of this internal debate and the beginning of a new journey. Chapter 57, Excitement. The hushed quiet of the London hotel room was only broken by the rustle of turning pages. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, immersed in the script, traced the words with his fingertips, their worn grooves like a familiar melody on his skin. The promise of embodying this complex character resonated deep within him, a thrill tinged with the delicious anxiety of competition. He couldn't ignore the shadow of his formidable rival, Lucas Knight. A young talent he'd had the privilege of witnessing firsthand, Lucas possessed a raw, electric energy that impressed the casting team. While he'd only glimpsed a few scenes of Lucas's performance in Audition, Joseph couldn't deny the young actor's raw talent. It wasn't a deterrent, though. It ignited a fire in Joseph's competitive spirit, a silent vow to delve deeper into Arthur, to make the character his own. Then, the phone buzzed. Joseph, lost in the script, thought it nothing urgent. But the name on the screen, John Papsidera, the casting director, sent a jolt through him. He answered, his voice a mix of anticipation and trepidation. The news was blunt. John's voice, kind but firm, confirmed Joseph's fears. He wasn't chosen to be Arthur. Disappointment settled in his gut, a heavy weight despite the practiced smile he offered. Lucas, he thought, must have truly dazzled them. A young talent, chosen for a role that had shimmered like a distant star in Joseph's own eyes. He sighed, a deep, weary exhalation that echoed in the quiet hotel room. He pocketed the phone, a sigh escaping his lips. Lucas must have really wowed them, he muttered. The warm buzz of the cafe enveloped Lucas as he settled into a booth across from Christopher Nolan and John Papsidera. Relief tinged his smile. Earlier, they'd confirmed his selection for the role of Arthur. Beating out Joseph Gordon-Levitt had been daunting, but the victory resonated sweetly. The conversation flowed easily, punctuated by coffee clinking against saucers. Lucas delved into his interpretations of Arthur, his voice animated as he dissected the character's complexities. Nolan listened intently, nodding occasionally, his keen eyes seeming to pierce through Lucas's enthusiasm, searching for something deeper. February for filming, John Papsidera interjected, breaking the spell of the discussion. We'll have plenty of time to refine everything before then. Lucas, still buoyant with his newfound success, beamed his thanks and excused himself. He stepped out into the bustling London street, the city lights painting a golden halo around his head. Nolan watched him go, a wisp of doubt flitting across his face. He murmured, more to himself than anyone else, let's hope you can hold on to that spark, Lucas. Arthur needs it. The London cafe buzzed with the afterglow of his triumph. Lucas, still riding the wave of excitement from landing the role of Arthur, knew his celebration wouldn't last long. A short stint filming his Modern Family role awaited him in Los Angeles, but given his limited screen time, Lucas wasn't feeling the immediate pressure to fly back. Just as he was about to hail a cab, his phone buzzed with an unexpected call. Congrats, kid. Didn't think you'd outshine Joseph Gordon-Levitt for Arthur, boomed Vincent's voice, his agent's usual gruffness softened by genuine surprise. Lucas chuckled, a touch of surprise still lingering. Yeah, the audition was intense. Intense enough to impress Christopher Nolan, Vincent chuckled in turn, pride evident in his voice. You keep surprising me, kid. And the surprises aren't over yet. Lucas's brow furrowed in curiosity. What do you mean? Remember that film you took on, 127 Hours? The one with the climber trapped in a canyon. Vincent paused, savoring the anticipation. Well, it's been selected for Sundance. You're heading there with the cast and director. Lucas's eyes widened. Sundance? Really? Indeed, Vincent confirmed. You're scheduled to attend with the cast and director. Prepare for the red carpet. Vincent's call echoed in Lucas's ear long after they'd hung up. Sundance. The prestigious film festival, the chance to celebrate 127 hours, and a glimpse into the world of Aaron. It was a heady mix. The film, finished only in late September, had somehow snagged a coveted slot. While how Fox Searchlight managed it remained a mystery, for Lucas, the thrill of sharing his work with filmgoers trumped the logistical details. December stretched before him, an agonizing waiting game until January and Sundance. He pictured the festival's electric atmosphere, the crisp mountain air, and the shared breath of anticipation in darkened theaters. From his past life, he recalled the buzz surrounding Winter's Bone, Deborah Granick's film starring Jennifer Lawrence, and other Sundance darlings. But anticipation, not anxiety, fueled his energy. He yearned to witness the film's impact, the murmurs and applause, the collective gasp at a pivotal scene. The echoes of John Papsidera's final instructions for Arthur still lingered in Lucas's ears as he settled into his airplane seat. London receded below, a patchwork of concrete and green space shrinking into the distance. With each soaring foot, a wave of relaxation washed over him. The pressure of the Arthur audition, the anxious energy of London, all dissolving into the soft hum of the engines. He glanced out the window, the cloudscapes morphing into abstract sculptures against the azure canvas. The brief Modern Family cameo awaited, a mere blip on his radar. Dylan's scene, tucked into the episode like a hidden Easter egg, wouldn't require Lucas's physical presence on set. It was a laptop-driven cameo, a convenient narrative trick to keep him in the loop. But the real draw, the siren song whispering in his ear, was Sundance. The thought of his performance gracing that prestigious stage sent a jolt of anticipation through him, a delicious mix of excitement and healthy trepidation. The return to Los Angeles was a pit stop, a necessary detour before the main event. Lucas knew the festival landscape was a fickle beast, but for now, he indulged in the simple pleasure of anticipation. The journey to Sundance, with its promise of shared stories and darkened theaters, was a victory in itself. Chapter 58, Before the Film Festival. January wrapped its icy fingers around Los Angeles, the promise of a new year already eclipsed by Lucas's relentless schedule. Celebrating on December 31st was a fleeting dream, replaced by the familiar hum of film sets and the constant buzz of his phone. Brief phone calls with Liza, Paul, and Samantha, their voices tinged with festive warmth that felt distant through the crackle of the receiver, were the closest he got to New Year's revelry. Los Angeles beckoned, a brief pit stop before the Sundance whirlwind. His Modern Family cameo was a blink-and-you-miss-it affair. Dylan, perched in front of a laptop, delivering lines that felt more like a voiceover than a physical performance. The scene, a glimpse into Dylan's digital connection with Haley, didn't necessitate Lucas's presence on set. A few hours, a handful of takes, and the cameo was wrapped. No need to mingle with the cast, no lingering on the familiar soundstage. Lucas, his schedule a tightly packed puzzle, simply boarded the next plane, the excitement of Sundance already tugging at his focus. Flight arrangements? Logistics? Lucas could blissfully ignore them. His agency handled the machinery behind the scenes, leaving him free to focus on the exhilarating anticipation of Sundance. This time, his destination wasn't the familiar bustle of New York, but the crisp mountain air and burgeoning energy of Park City, Utah. The Sundance Film Festival loomed large on the horizon, and Vincent, ever the resourceful agent, awaited his arrival. He'd even orchestrated a surprise collaboration with a designer from Dolce & Gabbana to outfit Lucas for the festival's glamorous nights. The news sent a thrill through Lucas. Lucas couldn't help but be impressed by Vincent's industry finesse. The wheels of the plane kissed the tarmac at Salt Lake City Airport, a gentle sigh escaping Lucas as the engines whined down. He unbuckled, excitement bubbling in his chest as the scent of anticipation hung heavy in the air. The Sundance Film Festival was a mere breath away, and even the sterile airport buzzed with a creative energy. Movie posters plastered the walls, whispers of upcoming premieres danced on the wind, and a palpable sense of artistic camaraderie thrummed beneath the fluorescent lights. Emerging from the terminal, Lucas hailed a taxi, the crisp mountain air replacing the stale air of the cabin. The drive to Park City was a scenic journey, winding through snow-dusted valleys and revealing glimpses of the town nestled amidst the majestic peaks. Finally arriving at the restaurant, Lucas spotted Vincent at a corner table, a warm smile crinkling the corners of his eyes. A hug, a flurry of greetings, and the air crackled with the promise of the festival's exhilarating chaos. "Good to see you, champ," Vincent said, his voice tinged with excitement. Settled in all right? Lucas nodded, taking a seat as the menu clattered softly behind them. As well as one can be in this pre-festival frenzy, he chuckled, glancing around at the energetic murmur of filmmakers and journalists. So, about the schedule, he began, we meet the cast and directors closer to the opening, right? Exactly, Vincent replied, stroking his chin. They'll be trickling in over the next few days. Speaking of directors, I just got off the phone with Boyle. Let me tell you, he's singing your praises. Raw talent, he called you, infused the screen with authenticity. Pretty high expectations, wouldn't you say? Lucas couldn't help but grin, a touch of nervousness bubbling beneath the pride. Sounds like I'd better bring my A-game, he said, then paused, a question bubbling up. And the whole fashion designer thing? Really necessary for a newcomer like me? Vincent chuckled, leaning back in his chair. First Sundance? Gotta make a good impression, wouldn't you say? Besides, with Boyle's name attached, you're bound to attract some press eyes. Gotta look the part, et. A wave of heat flooded Lucas's cheeks, a mixture of anticipation and self-consciousness. All right, he mumbled, unable to hide a smile. You win. Let's see what magic my wardrobe team can work. Vincent's smile widened. Remember your fashion designer? Big name, Dolce & Gabbana. Get ready to be pampered, champ. Lucas raised an eyebrow, a playful grin tugging at the corner of his lips. DNG, hey? When do we meet the designer? Later, after we've fueled up, Vincent replied, gesturing to the half-eaten plates on the table. You'll need to get used to the clothes over the next few days, fittings and whatnot. But hey, consider it a perk. Now, you look like you could use a rest before diving into designer fittings. Let's grab some dessert and talk about the real work tomorrow. The meal lingered pleasantly, leaving Lucas feeling satiated and ready for the next step. Vincent, ever the efficient agent, led him to a quiet corner of the hotel lobby. After a brief knock on a specific door, a moment of silence stretched between them. A flicker of doubt crossed Lucas's face. Are you sure the designer's here? He inquired, brow furrowed. Vincent, a picture of calm, simply nodded. Just as he was about to reply, the door creaked open, revealing a woman in her 30s, the assistant to the designer Carrie Porter. Her voice, crisp and professional, greeted Vincent with a polite, "Oh, Mr. Smith. I wasn't expecting you this soon." Vincent chuckled. "We thought we'd catch Mr. Porter early," he winked. "Is he in?" Before the assistant could reply, a voice like velvet flowed from behind her. "It's Ms. Porter, Mr. Smith," it purred, undeniably male yet imbued with a theatrical lilt. Lucas watched as a figure emerged from the shadows, a man impeccably tailored and adorned with light makeup. Lucas watched as a figure emerged from the shadows, a man impeccably tailored and adorned with light makeup. "Carrie Porter, at your service," the figure announced, extending a hand with perfectly manicured nails. Lucas cautiously shook it, his gaze flickering to Vincent, who offered a quiet, "That's your designer, Carrie." Carrie scanned Lucas with the practiced eye of a hawk, his smile tight. "Well, Mr. Smith, I have to say, on the phone I envisioned a celebrity of a slightly higher profile." Vincent's smile flickered, but he remained unfazed. "Perhaps I didn't specify. My client is indeed the lead in a Sundance film premiere, quite a promising talent." Carrie's frown deepened. "A lead, yes, but I had pictured some established starlet, not, whoever this is," he huffed, gesturing dismissively towards Lucas. Chapter 59, Arrogance. Park City, Utah, January 2010. Crisp mountain air stung the cheeks of visitors as they hurried through snow-dusted streets, anticipation for the Sundance Film Festival buzzing in the air. Tucked inside a cozy hotel lobby, Lucas, a young actor with nervous excitement thrumming in his veins, stood face to face with Carrie Porter, a designer from the hallowed halls of Dolce & Gabbana. The tension in the room was palpable. Carrie, impeccably dressed in sleek black, barely concealed a flicker of disdain. Vincent, Lucas's ever-optimistic agent, cleared his throat and offered a conciliatory smile. "Ms. Porter, no need to judge a book by its cover. Lucas might seem like a newcomer, but trust me, he's destined to be superstar." He patted Lucas's shoulder in a silent gesture of encouragement. In response, Carrie and her assistant exchanged a knowing smirk. "A future superstar?" Carrie drawled, his voice dripping with skepticism. Mr. Smith, you have quite the imagination. Lucas's cheeks flushed crimson, and even Vincent faltered under the icy sarcasm. Both Lucas and Vincent felt a prickle of discomfort. But Vincent, ever the diplomat, simply smiled. Humiliation isn't on the agenda, Ms. Porter. We're here for your expertise. Lucas needs a wardrobe worthy of the festival. Carrie's lips curved into a predatory smile. Of course, Mr. Smith. Let's see if your unknown actor face can carry off D&G. Carrie's private room overflowed with racks of tailored suits, each a testament to sartorial luxury. Lucas' eyes flickered across the diverse array of men's clothing, hoping to find something fitting for the festival. Then, Carrie, a figure cut from ice and velvet, finally deigned to notice Lucas. With a flick of his immaculately manicured wrist, he pulled out a garment. It shimmered, a cascade of sequins catching the light like falling snow. It was an audacious creation, a shimmering fabric woven with threads of gold, more suited to a disco ball than a mountain festival. Well, how about this? Carrie drawled, his voice sharp as a stiletto. This one's sure to make you sparkle. Lucas' smile faltered. Vincent, his agent, a man with a perpetual twinkle in his eye, frowned. Are you serious, Ms. Porter? He asked, his voice polite but firm. A sequined suit in Park City? In January? It seems impractical for Park City weather, to say the least. Carrie's lips curved into a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Mr. Smith, dressing an unknown face has its challenges. Sometimes, a statement piece is the only way to get noticed. Lucas felt a prickle of discomfort. Unknown face, hey. He said, his voice surprisingly steady. Every star you dress was once an unknown face, you know. Carrie's smile faltered for a moment, replaced by a flicker of irritation. Quite the philosopher, aren't we? Vincent stepped forward, his voice tight. Ms. Porter, this isn't what we agreed upon. Lucas deserves respect, whether he's on the A-list or not. Carrie threw back his head and laughed, a harsh, discordant sound that grated against the elegant setting. Respect? Mr. Smith, I entertain stars, not hopefuls. If you brought me at least a C-lister, I might have even bothered. But him? He is yesterday's news before he even made it to the front page. He drawled. But I haven't the time for existential debates, Mr. Smith. If you need clothes for a D-list actor, there are other designers in town. Vincent stepped forward, his diplomatic smile now strained. Ms. Porter, I think we can. I'm afraid my generosity has its limits, Mr. Smith, Carrie interrupted, his voice cold as the mountain air. He then turned to Lucas, we only dress stars, darling. Perhaps try your local thrift store next time. Lucas and Vincent exchanged a silent glance, a language of shared frustration and simmering defiance. Without a word, they turned and walked out, leaving the designer alone in his glittering, cold world. Lucas knew Carrie had tried to break him, to reduce him to a footnote in the grand story of Sundance. But in the face of the designer's disdain, a fire had ignited within him. He might be an unknown face, but he wouldn't let anyone dim his light. This Sundance, he vowed, would be his first step out of the shadows, and he wouldn't need sequins to make him shine. Leaving Carrie's icy domain, Vincent cast a concerned glance at Lucas. I'm so sorry, Lucas, he said, his voice laced with regret. I didn't expect such harshness from D&G. Truly disappointing. Lucas, however, offered a reassuring smile. No need to apologize, Vincent. Actually, his little tirade made me realize something. He paused, a glint of mischief in his eyes. Maybe I don't need a designer at all. Vincent raised an eyebrow, intrigued. What do you mean? Lucas, armed with his future knowledge, felt a surge of confidence. He knew about vintage trends making a comeback, about sustainable fashion rising, and about the cool factor of curated thrift store finds. There's a vintage clothing store in Park City I have in mind. We'll find something unique, something with soul, that fits me better than anything Carrie's clothes. Vincent chuckled, a hint of surprise lingering in his eyes. A thrift store? You're really taking that designer's advice to heart, aren't you? He teased, attempting to lighten the mood. Lucas laughed, the memory of Carrie's shimmering monstrosity still fresh. Oh, I wouldn't be caught dead in anything from his cold, sparkly clutches. Trust me, Vincent, a well-chosen thrift store find will have 100 times more personality than any overpriced D&G designer Carrie's suit. He added, those sequins Carrie was pushing could blind someone in this blizzard. The memory of the shimmery monstrosity brought a snort out of Vincent. Right, he chuckled, shaking his head. Blind us and send chills down our spines. Who knew fashion could be so terrifying? The crisp mountain air swirled around Lucas and Vincent as they navigated the bustling main street. Vintage shops and cozy cafes lined the street, their windows adorned with twinkling fairy lights and quirky mannequins. The scent of roasted coffee and freshly baked pastries mingled with the tang of winter air, creating a sensory feast. Lucas paused, his gaze drawn to a tucked-away corner storefront. Stepping through the creaky door, they were greeted by a symphony of scent and texture. Vintage leather jackets hung alongside racks of patterned shirts, faded denim mingled with chunky knit sweaters, and a hatbox. Chapter 60, Fashion. Park City, Utah, a few days before the Sundance blizzard of film and fame, hummed with a curious pre-festival energy. Snow swirled in the crisp mountain air, painting the quaint streets in shades of pearl and diamond. Cafes buzzed with conversations fueled by caffeine and artistic ambition, while ski bums swapped powder stories alongside festival hopefuls. The town, typically nestled in picturesque serenity, now thrummed with an anticipatory electricity. Celebrities, drawn by the promise of cinematic magic, began to trickle in. Jennifer Lawrence, a Sundance contender with eyes that held both innocence and a glint of steely determination, stood out even amidst the glitterati. Her Christian Louboutin designer, a stark contrast to the snooty D&G designer Lucas had encountered, treated her with respect and a touch of artistic reverence. Amanda Peet, her smile as bright as the winter sun, breezed through the crowds, her casual elegance a stark contrast to the calculated glamour of others. Andie MacDowell, ever the mystifying beauty, arrived for the howl that was about to premiere in festival in few days, her presence adding a touch of timeless grace to the scene. Jon Hamm, the charismatic star of Mad Men, shared a laugh with Jennifer Westfeldt, his co-star in the same film, their camaraderie a testament to the collaborative spirit that defines Sundance. James Franco, his infectious energy barely contained, also on the scene, while Adrian Brody, ever the observer, moved through the crowds with a quiet intensity. The bell above the door chimed a cheerful greeting as Lucas and Vincent stepped into the thrift store. Lucas, his eyes gleaming with future fashion foresight, scanned the racks with a practiced eye. First, a deep, earthy brown corduroy jacket caught his attention. Its classic, boxy cut promised warmth and effortless layering over a crisp white t-shirt. The worn fabric whispered of timeless cool, a subtle contrast to the polished glamour often associated with Sundance. Next, his gaze fell upon a pair of dark wash jeans, their slim fit subtly highlighting his lean frame. The sun-bleached denim, with its light distressing, exuded a casual charm perfect for navigating the festival's relaxed yet chic atmosphere. But the piece de resistance was a tucked-away wool sweater vest nestled amongst forgotten sweaters. Its rich emerald green, a color predicted to dominate the coming decade, instantly captivated him. The chunky cable knit pattern added a touch of rustic warmth, while the V-neckline offered a hint of rugged sexiness. Lucas lingered, fingers brushing the soft wool, feeling its potential under his fingertips. He tried on the jeans, the corduroy jacket, and finally, the emerald vest. The pieces sang together, creating a symphony of laid-back confidence and subtle swagger. But Lucas, never one to settle, kept exploring. He unearthed a vintage band tee, its faded graphic hinting at forgotten bands and basement jam sessions. He found a pair of boots, worn but sturdy, whispering tales of mountain hikes and city strolls. By the time Lucas and Vincent emerged from the thrift store, the setting sun cast long shadows across Main Street. Lucas didn't need designer labels or expensive threads. The designer's disdain had stung, but it had also fueled a fire within him. He was here to prove that true star power wasn't about brands, but about the person wearing them. The crisp mountain air of Park City crackled with anticipation. Just 2 days away, the Sundance Film Festival would transform this charming ski town into a vibrant hub of aspiring artists and established stars. In a quiet corner of a cozy hotel room, Lucas stood amidst a scattered pile of clothes, mirroring the city's burgeoning excitement. He wasn't surrounded by racks of designer garments or the snooty pronouncements of fashion gurus. Instead, his runway was the worn carpet of his room, his treasures unearthed from the hidden gems of Park City's thrift stores. His future fashion knowledge was his stylist, whispering trends and timeless classics in his ear. He held up a pair of dark wash jeans, worn soft but not faded. The fabric whispered stories of adventures past, yet the slim fit exuded a modern edge. Rips at the knee weren't mere distress, but carefully placed accents, drawing the eye to his lean frame. They weren't a statement of rebellion, but of quiet individuality. Next, he draped a textured knit blazer over his shoulders. The neutral gray blended seamlessly with the denim, its subtle herringbone pattern adding a touch of depth and dimension. It wasn't the loud proclamation of a high-end label, but a whispered confidence, a comfortable assurance in his own style. Beneath the blazer, he peeked out a patterned dress shirt. Not gaudy or loud, but with a discreet yet eye-catching geometric print in muted tones. It spoke of personality, a hint of artistic flair without needing to scream for attention. Finally, he slipped on a pair of sleek Chelsea boots. Practical for the winter chill, yet undeniably stylish, they completed the ensemble with a modern touch. Lucas stared at his reflection in the mirror. He wasn't dressed in haute couture, but in clothes that told a story. A story of resourcefulness, of confidence in his own taste, of finding value in the discarded and turning it into something uniquely his own. He looked, not like someone following fashion trends, but like someone who set them. His low-key yet polished ensemble carried more weight than any designer label. It wasn't about flashy brands, but about quiet self-assurance, about knowing his own worth and letting his clothes be an extension of his personality. In the cacophony of Sundance, he wouldn't be lost in the crowd, but a standout note, played on his own terms. Vincent ran a thoughtful hand over his chin, his gaze lingering on the textured knit blazer and the hint of patterned shirt peeking out beneath. "I'll be damned, Lucas," he chuckled, a touch of surprise in his voice. "Didn't peg you for such a hidden fashionista." Lucas grinned, deflecting the compliment with a light shrug. "Just picked out what felt right, you know." His eyes held a glimmer of satisfaction, a quiet confidence that had blossomed since ditching the D&G debacle. Across the bustling street, James Franco, his eyes scanning the vibrant tapestry of festival posters, stopped abruptly. James Franco's eyes flickered across a film poster. It was 127 Hours, its stark imagery and bold title demanding attention. A flicker of recognition crossed his face, a memory stirring from the recesses of his mind. He remembered the audition, the grueling days spent embodying the character, only to be edged out by a young newcomer Lucas Knight. A bitter smile twisted James' lips. "Let's see if your acting chops measure up to your audacity, Knight," he muttered under his breath, his gaze hardening with a faint curiosity. "Show me what you've got." Chapter 61, Sundance Film Festival commence. The crisp mountain air bit at Lucas' cheeks as he ventured out into the wintry wonderland of Park City. The Sundance Film Festival buzzed around him, a vibrant contrast to the frozen streets and snow-dusted pines. He spotted some tourists braving the icy sidewalks in flimsy shoes, their steps tentative, and chuckled inwardly. Seeking refuge from the chill, Lucas ducked into a cozy cafe, the aroma of coffee and pastries drawing him in. As he warmed his hands around a steaming mug, his eyes caught a flash of blonde hair on the street outside. He squinted through the window, a flicker of recognition igniting in his mind. There, precariously navigating the slick pavement, was a young woman he knew from, well, a different life. None other than Jennifer Lawrence, her fame in this world yet to bloom. His eyebrows rose in amusement as he watched her struggle, stylish Louboutins ill-suited for the treacherous terrain. Her thick parka and hat offered protection from the elements, but her footwear betrayed her, as her thick coat couldn't quite hide the precarious dance of her feet in a pair of Louboutin boots, their crimson heels sinking precariously into the icy pavement. A chuckle rumbled through the cafe as patrons watched her valiant effort. Finishing his coffee with a satisfied sigh, Lucas stepped back into the biting wind. Curiosity piqued, Lucas left the cafe to approach her. "Those Louboutins seem a bit out of their element in this weather, don't they?" he remarked, his voice gentle. Jennifer's head snapped up, surprise flitting across her eyes. "It's my first time here," she admitted, a hint of embarrassment warming her cheeks. "A pair of snow boots would definitely improve your traction," Lucas chuckled. She sighed. I know. But these beauties were handpicked by my designer, and I couldn't resist." Lucas studied her face, trying to place her. "You look familiar," he said finally. "Are you an actress in one of the Sundance films?" A spark of excitement lit up Jennifer's eyes. "Yes. I'm in Winter's Bone, it's premiering tomorrow in the US dramatic section." "I'll be sure to catch it," Lucas promised, genuinely intrigued. They fell into conversation, Jennifer's initial awkwardness melting away as Lucas's easygoing nature put her at ease. Just then, a woman with a clipboard and a hurried air approached, her eyes scanning the crowd. "Jennifer, we need to go," she announced, her voice laced with urgency. "Likely her agent," Lucas mused. Jennifer offered a final, apologetic nod before disappearing into the throng, leaving Lucas lingering with a smile, a warm feeling settling in his chest. It was a brief encounter, a moment shared with someone on the cusp of stardom. The Utah air crackled with anticipation as the Sundance Film Festival roared to life. The first rays of dawn cast a golden glow on Park City, mirroring the thrill that pulsed through the veins of aspiring filmmakers, seasoned veterans, and curious spectators alike. The U.S. dramatic competition buzzed with excitement, a crucible where raw talent battled for recognition. Winter's Bone, a chilling tale of survival in the Ozark Mountains, Blue Valentine, a poignant exploration of love's fragile dance, and other promising works stood poised to make their mark. Among them, nestled in a seemingly incongruous corner, rested 127 Hours. Danny Boyle, the Oscar-wielding director behind Slumdog Millionaire, had opted for the non-competition premieres section, a prestigious showcase reserved for established names and high-profile projects. While awards might be out of reach, the potential for wider acclaim and audience adoration remained. Lucas, his own Sundance debut film 127 Hours yet to premiere, immersed himself in the festival's infectious energy. Unlike the sprawling, star-studded carpets of Hollywood, Sundance offered a more intimate, casual affair. Yet, the air crackled with the thrill of impending discovery. Celebrities like Jennifer Lawrence, accompanied by her Winter's Bone cast and director, graced the red carpet, their excitement mirroring the expectant buzz of the crowd. The logo wall thrummed with activity as photographers immortalized celebrities in the winter sun. Lucas watched, enthralled, as Lawrence, a vision in a grey alpaca wool sweater and sleek black pants, fielded questions from journalists. In this microcosm of indie film royalty, even the wait for Winter's Bone felt charged with electricity. But beneath the surface of excitement, a different kind of anticipation simmered within Lucas. It was the anticipation of his own debut, the moment 127 Hours would finally grace the screen. The non-competition slot, while unexpected, couldn't dampen the thrill of sharing his cinematic vision with the world. The buzz in the theater reached a crescendo as the lights dimmed and anticipation crackled in the air. Lucas, still buzzing from the day's events, found himself swept into the crowd filing into the theater, eager to witness the film that had captured Sundance's attention, Winter's Bone. As he settled into his seat, a fleeting glimpse of a familiar face caught his eye. Peering closer, he recognized the distinct profile and sharp jawline of Adrien Brody, perched nonchalantly beside him. Lucas, ever mindful of the etiquette of the independent film world, offered a subtle nod and a courteous smile, before turning his attention back to the screen. The film unfolded with a stark beauty, mirroring the unforgiving landscape of the Ozarks. Ree Dolly, played with raw, magnetic intensity by Jennifer Lawrence, navigated a treacherous terrain, both physical and emotional, determined to find her missing father and save her family from the clutches of a ruthless drug cartel. One scene that stayed with Lucas long after the credits rolled was Ree's harrowing encounter with Teardrop, her meth-addicted uncle. The tension crackled like a live wire, Jennifer's raw performance capturing the desperation and vulnerability of a young woman pushed to the limit. Another powerful moment was the discovery of her father's body, submerged in the murky river, a brutal image that laid bare the harsh realities of Ree's world. As the credits rolled, a wave of applause erupted throughout the theater, echoing from the back rows where Lucas sat to the seats closer to the screen where Jennifer and the Winter's Bone team beamed with appreciation. Even the figure beside Lucas, Adrien Brody, as Lucas had realized by now, joined in the enthusiastic clapping. "Quite impressive, that Jennifer," Adrien remarked in a hushed tone, though not directly to Lucas. Lucas caught a glimpse of another man seated next to Brody, the conversation seemingly flowing between them. "That Jennifer was phenomenal," he admitted. "I think we have a serious contender for the grand jury prize in this one." Lucas, initially surprised by the unexpected conversation directed his way, quickly realized Adrien was speaking to someone seated in his blind spot. "I watched Blue Valentine too," the other voice chimed in, "but Jennifer's performance in this film is on another level. The rawness, the vulnerability, it's truly captivating. Jennifer's performance and the film's raw power, it's hard to beat. This one resonates deep with American audiences." Lucas listened quietly, absorbing their words. A pang of a different kind of anticipation stirred within him, a bittersweet mix of admiration for Jennifer's success and a silent acknowledgement of his own film's position outside the competition. As the crowd began to disperse, he slipped out of the theater, a quiet counterpoint to the lingering excitement. Competing against young talent like that was definitely an eye-opener, Lucas muttered to himself. The weight of the non-competition slot settled upon him as he walked. But even then, a flicker of optimism remained. Perhaps, he mused, leaving the grand jury award to Winter's Bone wasn't such a bad thing. After all, his sights were set on a bigger stage, one bathed in the golden glow of Oscars. Chapter 62, The Premiere. As the anticipation for 127 hours reached fever pitch in Park City, Lucas finally reunited with the film's director, Danny Boyle, and some of the cast and crew in the bustling hotel lobby. The moment Boyle spotted Lucas, his eyes brightened, lighting up like twin spotlights. He pulled Lucas into a warm embrace, greeting him with a booming, "Lucas, my lad. How's the world treating you?" Lucas, basking in the director's genuine warmth, grinned and replied, "I can't complain, Danny. This whole Sundance experience has been incredible." Boyle chuckled, his face edged with a mix of amusement and curiosity. "And are you keeping yourself busy with another project already?" Lucas's smile widened. "Actually, yes," he admitted. "Can't spill the beans just yet, but let's just say it's a commercial project." Boyle raised an eyebrow, a hint of surprise flickering across his face. "Commercial film, eh? That's unexpected. I figured you'd stick to your indie roots for a while." Lucas chuckled. "Don't worry, indie films are still my heart and soul. But this one, it was special. I couldn't pass it up." Boyle, a seasoned veteran of the industry, studied Lucas with a knowing gaze. He sensed a deeper motivation lurking beneath the surface, a secret driving force that propelled Lucas beyond the typical indie director's trajectory. He simply gave Lucas a knowing nod, a silent acknowledgement of the young actor's ambitious spirit. Among the throngs of cast, crew, Lucas spotted familiar faces and exchanged warm greetings. He shook hands with Kate Mara, her vibrant smile mirroring the excitement in the air. Amber Tamblyn, ever the captivating presence, received a friendly hug and a quick exchange of witty banter. But one particular encounter held a special significance for Lucas. It was Aaron Ralston, the real-life hero whose harrowing tale of survival fueled the 127 Hours narrative. Lucas approached Ralston with a mix of admiration and nervous energy, extending a hand and saying, "Mr. Ralston. It's an honor to meet you. Thank you for trusting me with your story." Ralston returned the hug with a warm smile. "Nice to see you, Lucas," he said, his voice deep and steady. "And I gotta say, I'm quite excited to see you up there on the big screen." Lucas chuckled, a nervous yet thrilled bubble rising in his chest. "Me too," he echoed, the weight of Ralston's words grounding him amidst the whirlwind of emotions. The Sundance Twilight painted the sky in a vibrant orange glow as the non-competition section of the festival hummed with anticipation. Films like The Company Men, The Killer Inside Me, and the intriguing Get Low promised diverse cinematic experiences, drawing curious audiences throughout the evening. Among them, High School, starring Adrien Brody, buzzed with excitement, adding its own layer of intrigue to the evening's tapestry. As night deepened, the atmosphere shifted into a celebratory hum. The premiere of 127 Hours was finally upon us, and the red carpet shimmered under the spotlight, ready to welcome its first guests. Starlets and established actors like Ryan Gosling and James Franco, their faces edged with the excitement of the festival, glided down the crimson path, their laughter and chatter echoing in the cool mountain air. And then, it was Lucas' turn. Stepping onto the red carpet after the director and cast of 127 Hours had already left their mark, he felt a nervous flutter in his stomach. Yet, amidst the flashing cameras and eager faces, a sense of confidence bloomed within him. This was his moment, his journey culminating in this single step onto the Sundance stage. With a smile that held both excitement and a hint of apprehension, Lucas walked the red carpet, the click-clack of cameras and the murmuring of the crowd blending into a background symphony. As Jennifer Lawrence emerged from the theater after a whirlwind afternoon of non-competition screenings, a different buzz crackled in the air. Gone were the murmurs surrounding Adrien Brody's High School, with which she'd just posed for a friendly photo. This new hum vibrated with a tangible anticipation, drawing the crowd towards a specific point on the red carpet. Curiosity piqued, Jennifer followed the current of excitement. Reaching the source, she saw the reason for the shift, 127 Hours, emblazoned in bold on the film's poster. Directed by a recent Oscar darling, the title alone exuded intrigue. The poster hinted at a man dangling precariously on a rock face, the desolate landscape hinting at a story fraught with suspense. The expected figure of the lead actor, a 30-something with brown hair mirroring the poster's protagonist, failed to appear. Instead, a significantly younger man emerged, his presence throwing the red carpet into a subtle ripple of surprise. Jennifer, caught in the tide of curiosity, leaned closer. The young man, though youthful, held a familiarity that tugged at her memory. He wasn't just young, she noted, his age closer to hers than in the poster 30-something lead. Lucas stood there, a study in understated elegance. Dark wash jeans, soft yet crisp, hugged his frame with a modern ease. A textured knit blazer, the grey blending seamlessly with the denim, draped over his shoulders, the herringbone pattern a whisper of individuality. Beneath, a patterned shirt in muted geometric hues peeked out, adding a touch of personality to the ensemble. And finally, Chelsea boots, practical yet stylish, stood their ground against the Park City chill. Though seemingly low-key, the whispers around Jennifer started to rise. The audience, with their trained eyes, recognized the subtle signs of high-end brands disguised in Lucas's casual facade. Jennifer, too, felt a pang of curiosity, wondering about the designer behind the carefully curated effortlessness. As Lucas navigated the gauntlet of the logo wall, flashes popping and capturing his every move, a memory clicked in Jennifer's mind. "Isn't he?" she muttered, a flicker of surprise dancing in her eyes. The image of Lucas from yesterday, catching her embarrassing Louboutin stumble, came rushing back. The realization made her smile. Who knew the unassuming young man she'd shared a laugh with was the lead actor of such a high-profile film? In that moment, the red carpet seemed a little less blinding, the world a little smaller, and the Sundance landscape even more intriguing, now dotted with unexpected connections and hidden surprises. Chapter 63, Interviews. As Lucas navigated the festival grounds, the Sundance logo emblazoned on a wall alongside a constellation of sponsors' emblems, the buzz of activity was unmistakable. Journalists huddled in animated clusters, microphones aimed like eager antennae towards actors and filmmakers bathed in the spotlight. Stepping into the fray, Lucas became another piece of the mosaic, the backdrop momentarily shifting to capture his arrival. A quick smile for a clicking camera, a polite wave to a familiar face, he knew the drill, even if he felt different. Lucas, fresh-faced and new to the scene, wasn't part of the official gala that kicked off the festival. His name hadn't yet carved its way into the pantheon of honorees and established stars. So, when he arrived for the premiere of 127 Hours, Danny Boyle's latest work, a ripple of surprise ran through the crowd. Murmurs of "Who's that?" mingled with whispers of "He looks so young." Lucas, unfazed by the sudden spotlight, simply smiled. As he posed for photos, his youthful features, starkly contrasted against the weathered backdrop of the story he'd brought to life, told a silent tale of resilience and grit. The youthful glow of Lucas, a stark contrast to the weathered Aaron he'd embodied in 127 Hours, drew the attention of seasoned media like a moth to a flame. Among them, Kirk Honeycutt, a veteran critic from The Hollywood Reporter, couldn't help but notice the newcomer as he took the stage. He admired Lucas's low-key attire, hinting at a quiet sense of style even amidst the festival frenzy. As Kirk approached, he confirmed his suspicions: this fresh-faced young man was indeed the film's lead. The Aaron on screen bore the marks of time, etched in stubble and faint wrinkles, a world away from the blonde hair and bright blue eyes that met Kirk's gaze. Yet, Kirk could only marvel at the transformative power of makeup artists. Kirk nodded at Anne, and then remembered that the director of the film 127 Hours indeed sang praises of the lead actor during the Sundance opening night. "Welcome to the Sundance fold, young man," Kirk greeted Lucas, who'd just emerged from a whirlwind photoshoot. Noticing Lucas's reserved demeanor, he added, "I'm Kirk Honeycutt, with The Hollywood Reporter." A curt nod and a "Lucas Knight. Nice to meet you," was the reply. Kirk chuckled at the polite formality, a welcome contrast to the usual festival freneticism. "So, tell me, what's it like being a Sundance newcomer?" Lucas's response was heartfelt, surreal. "It's almost unthinkable to be here, at this prestigious festival." His humility struck a chord with Kirk, piquing his interest further. Kirk, intrigued by Lucas's quiet demeanor and youthful appearance, couldn't help but remark, "You look incredibly young." Many were expecting someone older, in their 30s maybe. Quite a surprise to see someone so fresh-faced. Lucas, ever the pragmatist, smiled and shrugged. "I guess the makeup artists deserve the credit." Kirk, sensing a deeper story beneath the surface, pressed further. But some begins to doubt your ability to pull off the role, given your age. What do you say to that? Before Lucas could respond, a new voice cut through the air. Director Boyle showered praise of the leading actor at the gala, she said, her tone almost accusatory. Doesn't that speak volumes about his performance? It was a blonde woman with a warm smile and eyes that spoke of countless interviews navigated the press throng. Lucas, right? She asked, extending a hand. Ann Thompson from IndieWire. It's lovely to finally meet you. Mr. Boyle did praise your acting, Mr. Knight, but some began questioning his commendation due to your youth. How do you respond to that doubt? Kirk inquired of Lucas. Lucas gave a gentle smile. Look, I'm young and maybe not established enough to walk around with excessive confidence. It might come off as arrogance, you know. Kirk and Anne exchanged amused glances, a ripple of chuckles rippling through the nearby journalists. Lucas, unfazed, continued with a playful glint in his eye, but hey, all I say is, watch 127 hours. My performance can do the talking, right? The journalists, initially skeptical, found themselves warming to Lucas's self-deprecating humor and quiet confidence. As if sensing the shift, Director Boyle stepped forward, a familiar grin playing on his lips. To anyone still doubting this lad's performance, he boomed, his voice carrying across the throng, I say come watch the film yourselves. Lucas's performance will speaks for itself. Lucas nodded, a flicker of gratitude passing between him and Boyle. The director's presence, a beacon of industry acclaim, drew even more media attention. Microphones swiveled, cameras clicked, and reporters jostled for position. Questions flew like bullets, which scene was the hardest to shoot? What should audiences expect? One journalist from Rolling Stone, bold and brash, tackled the elephant in the room, the amputation scene. Based on the harrowing true story of Aaron Ralston, it was already shrouded in morbid curiosity. How did you prepare for the amputation scene, Lucas? Lucas, still basking in the afterglow of Boyle's words, offered a confident yet humble reply. I gave it my all, and if that scene proves too harrowing, well, I suggest closing your eyes. A chuckle escaped his lips, echoed by Boyle's booming voice. Mind you, the director quipped, it's not for the faint of heart. Lucas's performance was so good that some of the crew couldn't hold it together afterwards. That tantalizing tidbit piqued the critics' interest. Anticipation buzzed in the air, a mixture of morbid curiosity about the amputation scene and genuine awe for the young actor who'd earned the respect of an Oscar-winning director. The flashes of cameras painted Lucas in a stark spotlight, a stark contrast to the nervous newcomer he'd been moments ago. Across the throng, James Franco, another Sundance attendee, observed the scene with a flicker of complex emotions. As Lucas basked in the spotlight, a flicker of envy crossed James Franco's face, a feeling he quickly suppressed. He wasn't here to compete, he reminded himself, just to celebrate the art. Meanwhile, Jennifer Lawrence, fresh off her own Sundance success with Winter's Bone, watched the scene unfold with a mix of amusement and admiration. The young man she'd initially dismissed as a civilian was now commanding as much attention as she. Her smug thought of being the rare young talent of Sundance faded as she saw Lucas, barely older than herself. Perhaps she wasn't the only rare young talent Sundance had unearthed, perhaps this unassuming newcomer, hardly older than her, held a spark just as bright. The opening ceremony loomed, and the press conference reluctantly drew to a close. But the whispers lingered, a chorus of anticipation for 127 hours and the performance of the young actor who brought Aaron Ralston's story to life. Chapter 64, 127 Hours Film begins. As the lights dimmed and anticipation crackled in the air, the audience at Sundance's non-competition sector settled into their seats. Excitement for 127 hours thrummed through the theater, fueled by the pedigree of its director, Danny Boyle, fresh off his 2008 Oscar win. This 2010 offering promised another cinematic thrill ride, but whispers of intrigue swirled around the leading man. A murmur rippled through the crowd. The actor that appeared on the red carpet and press was younger than the one depicted on the poster, his face a testament to the transformative power of makeup. Curiosity warred with skepticism. Would this young newcomer, Lucas Knight, hold his own under the harsh spotlight of Danny Boyle's vision? As the lights dimmed and the opening credits rolled for 127 hours, a palpable buzz filled the theater. Among the expectant faces were seasoned critics like Variety's Owen Gleiberman and Rolling Stone's Peter Travers, their eyes sharpened by years of dissecting cinematic narratives. Entertainment Weekly's Lisa Schwartzbaum, too, joined the eager throng, alongside fellow IndieWire stalwarts Ann Thompson and Eric Cohn. Beyond the press contingent, established actors and rising stars mingled in the darkness. Ryan Gosling, his cool charisma radiating even in the subdued light, took his seat, while Adrian Brody and James Franco, their careers seasoned by diverse roles, exchanged knowing glances. Jennifer Lawrence, fresh off her Sundance triumph, settled in with a quiet anticipation. Among them, a murmur of intrigue rippled through the film insiders and savvy audience members. 127 hours, they knew, rested heavily on the shoulders of its young lead, Lucas Knight. A fresh face in the industry, his performance held the key to unlocking the film's emotional core. As the lights dimmed, Lucas took his seat closer to the screen, alongside the film's cast, director Danny Boyle, and the man whose story inspired it all, Aaron Ralston. A hush fell over the auditorium as the studio logos and productions faded on the screen and the familiar chords of Fish filled the air. The film opened with Lucas, in the role of Aaron, preparing for his Utah adventure. The audience see him gathering supplies in his apartment, the camera lingering on his focused movements as his sister's recorded message plays in the background. His sister's voice, a recorded message left on the answering machine, went unanswered as Aaron's focus remained solely on the open road. As the opening sequences unfolded, Lucas, as Aaron, soared across the vast canyon on his mountain bike, the thrill of the journey reflected in every frame. The camera lingered on his face, capturing the youthful exuberance and carefree spirit that radiated from the screen. The audience, a mix of seasoned critics, fellow actors, and curious newcomers, were drawn into Aaron's world, mesmerized by the raw joy and unbridled enthusiasm that Lucas brought to life. They saw the thrill dance in his eyes, the grin etched on his face a testament to the pure, unadulterated joy of adventure. His movements, confident and sure-footed, embodied the spirit of a man in his prime, oblivious to the dangers lurking just beneath the surface of his exhilarating journey. And for a moment, if they didn't know Lucas's true age, they would have readily believed him to be every bit the seasoned adventurer Aaron portrayed. As the opening sequence of 127 hours unfolded on the screen, a murmur of approval rippled through the darkened theater. Critics like Owen Gleiberman, Peter Travers, and Lisa Schwartzbaum found themselves scribbling quick notes, impressed by the film's promising start and the young lead's confident portrayal of Aaron Ralston. Lucas Knight, with his natural charm and infectious zest for adventure, captured Aaron's youthful spirit brilliantly, his performance resonating deeply with both seasoned critics and ordinary viewers alike. Among the audience, James Franco watched intently, a flicker of curiosity playing across his features. He acknowledged Lucas's talent, his performance not lacking in merit. However, a tinge of doubt lingered, a silent question hanging in the air: could Lucas sustain this momentum through the film's heart-wrenching climax, the scene where Aaron finds himself trapped in the canyon? Franco, perhaps harboring a sliver of competitive spirit, couldn't help but imagine his own take on the role, yet for now, he surrendered to the unfolding narrative, captivated by the sheer rawness of Lucas's portrayal. Jennifer Lawrence, perched nearby, found herself unexpectedly drawn to Lucas's portrayal. She recognized a kindred spirit in his youthful confidence and unbridled enthusiasm. While she still held a quiet pride in her own performance in Winter's Bone, particularly the scene that had resonated with several critics, she couldn't help but acknowledge the potential she saw in Lucas. The film rolled on, Lucas's portrayal of Aaron deepening with each scene. His adrenaline-fueled joy translated vibrantly, evident in the whoop of laughter that escaped Aaron's lips as his bike schemed over the desert sands, only to be abruptly jolted by a hidden rock. The audience, drawn into the thrill of the ride, winced along with Aaron's stumble, feeling the desert dust cling to their own throats at the impact. The harsh beauty of the landscape continued to unfold as Aaron trekked deeper. The sudden roar of passing motorbikes tore through the stillness, engulfing Aaron in a whirlwind of sand. Lucas's grit-covered face mirrored the audience's own discomfort, the dry grains finding their way into his eyes, nose, and mouth, sending Aaron into a hacking cough. The scene, visceral and real, evoked a wave of shared, almost physical, unease that rippled through the theater. The desert landscape gave way to a sun-drenched canyon as Aaron crossed paths with Christy and Megan, fellow climbers. The banter between them flowed naturally, Lucas's chemistry with the actresses evident. As the women reluctantly parted ways, promising to wait at a designated point, Aaron, fueled by wanderlust, continued his solo trek towards the alluring Blue John Canyon. A hush fell over the theater as the inevitable approached. Some viewers, familiar with Aaron's story through his book, knew what awaited, their anticipation tinged with a sense of dread. Others, unaware of the coming ordeal, remained on edge, the tension building with each passing moment. The scene that was about to unfold, a test of human resilience against nature's unforgiving grip, promised to elicit a symphony of emotions, drawing reactions from critics, established actors, and ordinary audience members alike. Chapter 65, Trapped. At the highly anticipated premiere of 127 Hours, the audience watched intently as Lucas embodied the role of Aaron Ralston, navigating the challenging terrain of a Utah canyon with practiced ease. The scene captivated the audience, including seasoned actors like Ryan Gosling and Adrien Brody. Lucas's performance was remarkable. He seamlessly navigated the character's joy and determination, his movements confident and his expressions nuanced. Despite his young age, only 19, his portrayal resonated with a depth and maturity that belied his years. One could easily mistake him for a seasoned veteran, so fully immersed was he in the role. The specific scene depicting Aaron traversing the canyon showcased a nuanced transition of emotions. Lucas's portrayal seamlessly blended excitement with a sense of peace and wonder. His subtle expressions, particularly the comfort visible in his eyes, allowed the audience to connect with Aaron's experience on a visceral level. The raw emotions, ranging from adventurous spirit to quiet contemplation, resonated deeply, regardless of whether viewers were fellow actors, critics, or everyday cinema enthusiasts. As the film progressed, the atmosphere in the theater shifted. Those familiar with the true story of Aaron Ralston watched in anticipation, knowing tragedy lurked just around the corner. Others, like Jennifer Lawrence, were unaware of the impending events and absorbed in Aaron's journey through the narrow canyon. They saw him in the narrow canyon, seemingly confident as he navigated the descent. This confidence held steady even as a loose rock shifted under his grip, momentarily raising eyebrows in the audience. He grasped a chalk stone, his hand secure. A slight movement of the rock went unnoticed by him and the audience, dismissed as a tremor in the terrain. As he continued down the canyon wall, a shadow loomed over him. This time, Aaron's eyes caught it. The camera focused on his face as the chalk stone began to fall, seemingly towards him. A collective gasp rippled through the audience, some women even shrieked. The scene slowed, heightening the drama. Instinctively, Aaron tried to dodge, raising his hand in a desperate attempt to block the falling rock. However, the chalk stone's trajectory shifted. It smashed into his left hand, the pain evident in his windshield. With a reflex action, he pulled it back, exposing his right forearm. The rock, unforgiving, slammed into his right hand and arm, sending a shockwave of pain through him. The audience watched, captivated and horrified. The adventurous, peaceful expression that once graced Aaron's face was now replaced by a blankness, his eyes wide with disbelief and shock. The weight of the situation settled in, leaving them breathless and speechless. Experienced actors like Ryan Gosling and Adrien Brody were drawn in, not just by the scene's tension, but by the nuanced performance unfolding before them. Lucas, embodying the role of Aaron, delivered a reaction so genuine that even seasoned veterans felt a pang of horror. Critics, scribbling notes with hands that might have subtly betrayed a tremor, captured the impact of the scene. For young actress Jennifer Lawrence, a potential rising star herself, the intensity left her wide-eyed and breathless. On screen, Lucas masterfully transitioned Aaron from the initial shock of the falling rock to a forced attempt at regaining composure. Deep breaths, visible through chest rises and falls, punctuated his actions. Yet, a flicker of panic remained in his eyes, betraying the turmoil within. This subtle detail resonated with the audience, bringing home the stark vulnerability of his situation. Instead of succumbing to despair, Aaron, played by Lucas, muttered a single, choked curse under his breath, "Fuck." It was a brief, almost involuntary reaction, quickly replaced by a determined set to his jaw. He visibly forced himself to calm down, channeling his panic into action. This nuanced portrayal resonated deeply, capturing the complexity of human emotions in the face of adversity. Deep breaths, visible through chest rises and falls, punctuated his actions. Yet, within that forced calm, a flicker of panic lingered in his eyes. This subtle detail resonated with the audience, bringing home the stark vulnerability of his situation. Silence enveloped the theater. Though no audible thoughts emanated from Aaron, the audience somehow felt them projected through his actions alone. A silent mantra of calm down," seemed to hang in the air. With admirable resourcefulness, Aaron reached for his backpack, taking a sip from his water bottle. He then dug into his pocket, and took a multi-tool. But a shadow passed over his face as he saw it, a cheap, inadequate tool for the predicament he faced. With the meager multi-tool in hand, Aaron began scraping at the rock lodged against his forearm. The audience, including Jennifer Lawrence, were aware of the futility of attempting this with such inadequate equipment. The tension was palpable. Meanwhile, James Franco, despite initial reservations about a young actor carrying the film, found himself engrossed by Lucas's performance. He was particularly impressed by how Lucas sustained the emotional momentum throughout the scene. The raw realism of his portrayal as Aaron transcended expectations, even exceeding James's own interpretation of the character. This surprised James. He hadn't anticipated such depth and nuance from a newcomer. Intrigued, he continued watching, eager to see if Lucas could maintain this level of intensity while trapped in the confined canyon. As expected, scraping the rock with the meager tool proved futile. The audience, including Jennifer Lawrence, watched with bated breath as Lucas, embodying Aaron, desperately explored escape options. He pushed against the rock with all his might, his groans echoing in the confined space. Frustration mounting, he resorted to helpless complaints. "Fuck. What the fuck? How the fuck did you get your hand trapped by a fucking boulder? It's crushed, it's fucking dying, man." He reached up, tracing the bloody smear on the canyon wall, a grim reminder of how he ended up trapped. Looking under the boulder, a flicker of hope. No new blood. But the cheers from the audience, piped through his headphones, only served as a jarring reminder of his predicament. With a flick of his wrist, he silenced the noise. A collective sense of helplessness washed over the audience as they witnessed Aaron's struggle. Despite knowing the film's premise, his entrapment in the canyon, the raw desperation radiating from Lucas's performance was palpable. It wasn't just about the specific tragedy, it was a universal human experience of being caught in a seemingly insurmountable situation. The audience was drawn to the primal human struggle for survival. They witnessed Aaron's every attempt at escape, his frustration mounting with each futile effort. The groans echoing in the narrow canyon, the desperate pushing against the rock, and the helpless complaints, all resonated deeply, creating a palpable sense of empathy. They weren't merely watching a film, they were experiencing the character's plight firsthand. For audience, such as Jennifer Lawrence, new to the story, the film unfolded as a gripping mystery. Unlike others familiar with Aaron Ralston's real-life ordeal, she lacked the foreknowledge of Aaron's fate. Her curiosity, like that of many in the audience, centered around the question, would Aaron survive this seemingly insurmountable situation? Chapter 66, Oscars. The film continued with Lucas's unwavering intensity, drawing the audience deeper into Aaron's ordeal. While helplessness pervaded the atmosphere, Lucas's captivating performance held their attention. As Aaron struggled to dig away at the rock wall with his inadequate tool, frustration etched itself onto his face. The audience could almost feel the futility of his efforts against the unyielding stone. This was more than just a movie, it was a visceral experience of human limitation. Torn by internal conflict, Aaron muttered, "You have to cut your arm, you have to cut it." Yet, the very thought was met with resistance. "No. I don't want to." This internal struggle played out on Lucas's face, showcasing the immense mental weight he carried. His desperation was evident in his trembling hands and the desperation in his eyes as he continued his futile attempts to free himself. Time became a tangible pressure, measured by the relentless ticking of Aaron's watch. Each passing second tightened the audience's grip on their seats, mirroring the character's mounting anxiety. They watched, captivated by Lucas's raw portrayal of desperation and the desperate need to maintain composure despite an impossible situation. Even when Aaron attempted to leverage the canyon wall itself for escape, his efforts proved fruitless. Lucas conveyed the physical strain and growing exhaustion with nuanced detail, further immersing the audience in the character's plight. The film transitioned, leaving behind the intense struggle in the narrow canyon. A new scene unfolded, showing Aaron and his friend Mark traversing a vast field of boulders. Their path led them to a colossal rock, dwarfing everything around it. "Wow, look at that! It's huge!" Mark exclaimed, his voice tinged with awe. "No cliffs or mountains nearby, either. How the fuck did this get there? It's like we're on the moon looking over Buzz Aldrin's shoulder at Neil Armstrong, it certainly sounds like that." The scene shifted back to Aaron, now bathed in the darkness of night. The tension remained palpable. The rhythmic sounds of Aaron's actions filled the silence, the scrape of his makeshift tool against the rock, the ticking of his watch, the steady flexing of his limbs to maintain circulation. Each movement seemed deliberate, a testament to his determination. Aaron's voice, though faint, carried his exhaustion. He spoke of the aches gnawing at his body, the strain of his trapped position. Yet, amidst the despair, a flicker of hope emerged. He donned his harness and began throwing a rope upwards, aiming for a precarious hold near the camera. The knots and carabiners, barely visible in the dim light, became instruments of his potential escape. Each attempt ended in the rope falling back, a testament to the difficulty and exhaustion he faced. But Aaron persisted, adjusting his strategy with each throw. Finally, success! The rope caught, and with a tug, it held firm. The rope holds, and he slowly descends, relief momentarily washing over both him and the audience. But hope is fleeting. Just as Aaron reaches the ground, his attempt to push himself free from the rock meets with frustrating resistance. It remains unyielding, a stark reminder of his predicament. The audience, mirroring Aaron's emotions, vacillates between hope and despair. The scene shifted to a chilling reenactment of the accident. Time slowed, stretching the fateful 3 seconds into 30 excruciating moments. The audience witnessed the fall through Aaron's eyes, his face etched in slow-motion horror as the rock relentlessly pursued him down the canyon wall. The jolt of impact cut to darkness. Then, a flicker of movement. Aaron's eyes opened, blinking away the remnants of the nightmare. He stood unsteadily, forced up by the lack of circulation in his trapped limb. Ignoring the lingering echoes of the dream, he returned to the grim reality, his tool chipping away at the rock with renewed urgency. Time lapse. Dawn painted the canyon in hues of grey, then light, revealing the passage of time through a series of quick cuts. Aaron, illuminated only by his lamp, watched the world come alive. A sudden gust of wind startled him, his gaze drawn upwards to the silhouette of a raven perched on the canyon wall, its call echoing through the stillness. The audience is captivated. Actors, critics, regular cinemagoers alike, all glued to the screen. Lucas's performance is raw, authentic, beyond anyone's expectations. "The actor's performance is incredible," whispers Adrian Brody to his friend. The friend, a middle-aged man, nods solemnly. If this film were in the Drama US section, it would be a strong contender for the Grand Jury Prize. Adrian agrees, thoroughly impressed by the young talent gracing the Sundance 2010 stage. He couldn't help but wonder, as his friend voiced, "We haven't reached the film's climax yet. Will this actor continue to surprise us?" While intrigued, Adrian remained skeptical. Lucas's current performance was already exceptional, surpassing any expectations. Yet, a seed of doubt lingers, can this young actor truly push the boundaries even further? The film transitioned to a personal and raw perspective as Aaron turned the camera on himself. With a weary voice, he started recording. "It's Sunday, 3:05 a.m. This marks 24 hours since I got stuck in Blue John Canyon, above the Big Drop. My name is Aaron Ralston, and my parents are Donna and Larry Ralston from Englewood, Colorado. If anyone finds this, please try to get it to them. It would mean a lot." Despite the camera facing him, his gaze seemed to evade his own image, lingering instead on distant points. A stark contrast existed between his slow, slurred speech and the wide-eyed alarm etched on his face. "So, I was hiking Blue John Canyon yesterday," he began, taking long blinks, "and this happened." With a shaky hand, he pivoted the camera to reveal the terrifying scene, his forearm and wrist swallowed by the impossibly narrow gap between a rock and the canyon wall. "What you're seeing there is my arm, going into the rock, and it's stuck. No circulation for 24 hours. It's pretty much gone. If the video doesn't show the color, it's gray and blue." The audience witnessed Aaron's raw struggle unfold through this personal recording. Exhaustion hung heavy in his voice and actions, yet a faint undercurrent of determination persisted. Each sentence carried the weight of his reality, drawing viewers into the depths of his predicament. The film delved deeper into Aaron's deteriorating state as he battled hallucinations. A kangaroo materialized behind the chalk stone, a ghostly apparition fueled by dehydration and isolation. Then, a bizarre image flitted through his mind, a Scooby-Doo inflatable bouncing in the back of his truck. He muttered, "Will the girls go to the party?" Seemingly transported to another space entirely. Some in the audience found themselves shaking their heads at the randomness of these outbursts, a chilling reminder of the mental strain he endured. As time crawled by, Aaron clung to his meager resources. He carefully rationed his water, holding it in his mouth before capping the bottle and burying it in the sand to minimize evaporation. Driven by desperation, he even resorted to the unthinkable. When an insect crawled across his vision, he instinctively picked it up and ate it. This graphic act, while unsettling, underlined the stark reality of his situation, where even insects became potential sources of sustenance. Another scene sparked a mixture of disgust and intrigue. Facing dehydration, Aaron resorted to his camelback, but with a twist. He took a tentative sip of his own urine, gagging at the taste. The audience, mirroring his reaction, felt a visceral discomfort. Lucas's performance captivated everyone. His portrayal was so convincing that even seasoned actors like Ryan Gosling, Adrian Brody, and James Franco found themselves tensing in their seats, while Jennifer Lawrence covered her mouth in disgust. There was a hushed murmur in the theater as the scene unfolded. Some winced, some looked away briefly, but none could tear their eyes completely from the screen. The raw desperation and the lengths Aaron was willing to go to for survival resonated deeply, sparking both discomfort and admiration. The film continued with Lucas's captivating performance as Aaron. Confined in the canyon, he documented his ordeal through the camera, his voice a testament to the passage of time and growing desperation. Hallucinations flickered in his mind, a chilling reflection of his deteriorating mental state. The audience witnessed the slow, agonizing crawl of time, each tick of the clock a stark reminder of his predicament. It was a situation that could test the sanity of anyone, and Lucas's portrayal conveyed this chilling reality with nuance and depth. His performance was not lost on the seasoned professionals in the audience. Fellow actors and critics alike were once again struck by his ability to maintain the film's intensity. They felt not just that he was holding his own, but that he was pushing his own boundaries, surpassing his previous work. The raw emotion and vulnerability he poured into the role left them speechless. Jennifer Lawrence, watching the film, couldn't help but compare it to her own performance in Winter's Bone. While both roles showcased young actors tackling challenging situations, Lucas seemed to inhabit Aaron's desperation with a level of authenticity that left her own performance feeling understated. The audience's emotions were a tapestry woven with threads of empathy, discomfort, and admiration. While some found the film's portrayal of desperation unsettling, others were captivated by Lucas's commitment to the character. As the film reached its climax, the tension in the room was palpable. The title, 127 Hours, cast a long shadow, hinting at the impending resolution. The audience's emotions were a complex blend. They were drawn to the film, yet its harsh reality evoked discomfort. However, the industry insiders were united in their awe for Lucas's performance. Was it a masterpiece? Could it garner Oscars? These questions hung in the air as the film reached its climax. Chapter 67, Unexpected Moment. The hush in the Sundance theater was palpable, thick enough to cut with a knife. The film, 127 Hours, had reached its penultimate scene. On screen, Aaron, played by Lucas Knight, embodied exhaustion. His face, edged with worry, was a canvas of sweat, grime, and despair. His eyes, bloodshot and raw, reflected a storm brewing within. A guttural growl escaped his lips, shattering the silence. "I hate this rock," he spat, his voice hoarse from dehydration and desperation. The words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken pain and frustration. His gaze locked onto the boulder, the symbol of his entrapment, and his eyes, though watery and weak, seemed to silently scream a primal cry for freedom. Frustration contorted Aaron's face. His nostrils flared, and a guttural growl escaped his lips. "I hate it," he spat, the word laced with despair. "This goddamn canyon," he muttered, his voice hoarse. "This cold, damp wall, crushing me." The audience held their breath, the silence broken only by Aaron's ragged breaths. He stared at the trapped hand, gangrene creeping like a monstrous invader. "Get rid of it," he whispered, the words barely audible. "It's dead weight, poisoning you." With a steely resolve, he lowered himself, the webbing straining against his waist. He ripped it free, the movement jerky but determined. Trapped, he contorted his body, pushing against the boulder with his free hand, each thrust a silent scream of defiance. "Harder, damn it, harder." He gritted his teeth, the sound barely registering in the suffocating silence. A sickening crack echoed through the canyon. Aaron winced, the bone grinding beneath his skin. A flicker of something shifted on Aaron's face. Frustration morphed into quiet determination, then bloomed into cautious hope. A single, ragged yes escaped his lips, a sound raw with emotion. The audience leaned forward, captivated. This wasn't just the joy of a broken bone, it was the culmination of hours, days of struggle etched into every line of his face. The bone jutted through his skin, a gruesome testament to his ordeal, but his eyes, though strained, held a spark of defiance. No words were needed. Aaron's trembling hands, the raw exhaustion in his eyes, the way his body slumped slightly against the rock all spoke volumes. The audience had been with him every step of the way, experiencing his despair, his determination, and now, his bittersweet triumph. The film wasn't just about the physical ordeal, it was about the emotional journey. It was about the flicker of hope in the face of adversity, the strength found in desperation, and the quiet victory of perseverance. And the audience, captivated by Aaron's performance, had lived it all alongside him. The hush in the Sundance theater grew profound as the scene unfolded. Even Hollywood veterans like Ryan Gosling and Adrian Brody were captivated, leaning forward in their seats. Lucas Knight, the relatively unknown actor playing Aaron Ralston, was delivering a performance far exceeding expectations. His portrayal transcended mere technical skill, it crackled with raw emotion, resonating deeply with the audience. A murmur of impressed whispers began to ripple through the theater. Even seasoned critics, known for their stoicism, couldn't hide their admiration. The consensus seemed to be forming: if 127 Hours landed in the U.S. dramatic section, it would be a frontrunner for the Grand Jury Prize. Jennifer Lawrence, known for her own captivating performances in the film Winter's Bone, watched in enthralled silence. Witnessing such raw talent and emotional depth from an actor her age was truly remarkable. She knew, instinctively, that this breakout performance deserved recognition on the biggest stage. Among the critics, expressions were a mix of awe and contemplation. While some might have initially hesitated to consider a newcomer for such prestigious accolades, Knight's undeniable talent was impossible to ignore. A hush fell over the audience as Aaron, on screen, took a shaky breath. This wasn't just frustration etched on his face now, but a desperate determination. Every muscle tensed as he raised the small, worn multi-tool to his trapped arm. The clink of metal on bone rang through the theater, sharp and final. A collective gasp filled the air. The camera lingered on Aaron's face, raw emotion laid bare, exhaustion, fear, and a sliver of hope fighting for dominance. With gritted teeth, he dug the blade deeper, and a crimson line began to bloom across his forearm. The theater was silent, save for the labored sound of Aaron's breathing. The camera work was intimate, almost clinical, mirroring the audience's unease. Yet, they couldn't look away. The blood was real, the pain palpable, and Lucas Knight's performance held them captive. Even seasoned actors in the audience shifted in their seats. Ryan Gosling's jaw clenched, while Jennifer Lawrence brought a hand to her mouth, her eyes wide with a mixture of horror and empathy. The critics, known for their stoicism, exchanged worried glances. This wasn't just acting, it was raw vulnerability laid bare. The scene shifted between Aaron's resolute face, sweat glistening on his skin, and the gruesome reality of the unfolding amputation. As he reached the nerve, a barely audible hiss escaped his lips. The tension in the theater was almost unbearable, yet the audience remained glued to their seats, mesmerized by the performance and the sheer will to survive unfolding before them. A collective gasp swept through the Sundance audience as Aaron plunged the tool into his arm. The silence, thick with tension, shattered into a flurry of whispers. "Oh my God," some uttered, their voices barely above a murmur. "Jesus," others breathed, eyes wide with shock. A wave of discomfort rippled through the room. Some averted their gaze, while others squeezed their eyes shut, unable to bear the sight. "Close your eyes, honey," a husband murmured to his wife. The scene, though not explicitly shown, resonated powerfully through Aaron's winced expressions, the trembling of his hand, and the rasp of the tool. Lucas, along with the cast and director, watched intently, their own faces mirroring the audience's range of emotions. Suddenly, a commotion erupted in the back of the theater. A panicked shout pierced the silence, "Help! Someone fainted!" The tension momentarily shattered, replaced by a surge of concern. Lucas and the others exchanged worried glances, the weight of the scene suddenly amplified by this unexpected turn. Chapter 68, Dawn of the Legend. A ripple of concern disturbed the near silence in the theater. One audience member fainted, followed by a few others succumbing to the film's intensity. The murmurs of shock and discomfort grew into a low hum. Lucas exchanged a worried glance with director Danny Boyle, but Boyle offered him a reassuring nod. "We anticipated this," he whispered. "Medics are ready." Lucas nodded, his gaze flitting between the commotion and the screen. As trained professionals efficiently assisted the affected individuals, the audience, too, shifted their attention, some wincing in sympathy, others briefly closing their eyes. But the scene's power held them captive, drawing them back as quickly as it had pulled them away. On screen, Aaron continued his struggle, his face a map of determination and pain. The audience watched, their own discomfort eclipsed by the raw emotion of the performance. They couldn't miss this, not when the climax was so near. Finally, with a shuddering breath and a surge of relief, Aaron freed himself. He expertly tended to the fresh wounds, the image stark yet hopeful. A collective sigh of release rippled through the theater, replaced by a wave of applause. They had shared Aaron's journey, felt his pain and triumph, and emerged moved and profoundly affected. Lucas and Aaron, the actor portraying him, exchanged a subtle glance as the credits rolled. The audience's reaction, a mix of awe and relief, was evident on their faces. The film had shifted with Aaron, weak but triumphant, on screen. He was surrounded by rescuers, his journey of survival complete. Then, a shift. The screen showed a one-handed Aaron swimming effortlessly in a pool. Text confirmed this was no fictional ending, but real life. The audience watched, their expressions thoughtful. Then, a melancholic melody filled the theater. Lucas's voice, portraying Aaron, filled the air with lyrics that resonated, "Come up to meet you, tell you I'm sorry / you don't know how lovely you are." It was a poignant reflection of Aaron's journey, a bittersweet acknowledgement of loss and growth. The audience, actors, critics, and film lovers alike, sat transfixed. The song, both beautiful and melancholic, seemed to capture the essence of the new Aaron, a man forever marked by his ordeal, yet brimming with the strength to face whatever lay ahead. As the melancholic melody of The Scientist unfolded, a hush fell over the audience. Lucas's voice, raw and introspective, filled the theater with the lyrics, "Tell me your secrets and ask me your questions / oh, let's go back to the start." Murmurs of appreciation rippled through the crowd. "Wow, that song is powerful," someone whispered. "So calming," another added. Adrian Brody leaned over to his friend, his voice barely a murmur. "That song was really something." His friend nodded, intrigued. "I wonder who wrote it." The song concluded with a poignant echo, "Nobody said it was easy / oh, it's such a shame for us to part / nobody said it was easy / no one ever said it would be so hard." The credits rolled with the scene of Aaron still playing, and a collective gasp arose as the title "The Scientist" and the composer's name, Lucas Knight, flashed on the screen. Many in the audience were unaware, but industry insiders were buzzing. The young actor, already lauded for his performance, had now revealed a hidden talent, composing a song that resonated deeply with the film's message. As the film finally ended with credits rolling on the black background, a wave of enthusiastic applause washed over the Sundance audience. Cheers and excited murmurs filled the theater. "So good! Wow, what a roller coaster! That final scene!" people exclaimed, sharing their reactions. Among the audience, renowned actors like Ryan Gosling, Adrian Brody, and Jennifer Lawrence stood and applauded. Their gaze turned towards the front, acknowledging the film's team, Lucas Knight, the director, cast, and even Aaron Ralston himself. However, the spotlight rested most brightly on Lucas. His performance had far exceeded expectations, captivating the audience and fellow actors alike. Even critics, known for their restraint, offered appreciative glances and scribbled notes filled with praise. The 2010 Sundance Film Festival had presented not just one rising star, but two. While Jennifer Lawrence shone in Winter's Bone, Lucas Knight, the lead of 127 Hours, though in the non-competition section, was stealing the show. Though non-competitive, his performance seemed destined for bigger stages, perhaps even the Oscars. James Franco, watching intently from the audience, felt a complex mix of emotions as Lucas Knight brought Aaron to life on screen. He, like everyone else, had been blown away by Lucas' performance, exceeding even his own expectations. He knew firsthand the demands of the role, having also auditioned, and a flicker of doubt crossed his mind. Could he have delivered it with the same depth and raw intensity? Logic told him not to compare, to celebrate Lucas' well-deserved success. Instead of joining the standing ovation, James remained seated, his gaze fixed on Lucas, the director, and the cast basking in the applause. He felt a complex fire ignite within him, not of envy, but of inspired competition. As he quietly rose and left the theater, the thunderous applause fading behind him, a single word escaped his lips: "Thank you, Knight." The experience reignited James's passion for acting, serving as a powerful reminder of the transformative power of storytelling and the constant pursuit of excellence. The young actor's performance had not diminished him, but rather fueled his own creative fire, pushing him to strive for even greater heights. Lucas, his face etched with relief and gratitude, looked out at the audience. The clapping continued, a steady rhythm that swelled and subsided, stretching for an extraordinary 7 minutes. It was a testament to the film's power and Lucas's captivating performance. Among the audience, a mix of emotions played out. Seasoned actors and critics, initially skeptical, found themselves swept away by the film's emotional depth and Lucas's raw talent. They acknowledged the film's uniqueness, recognizing that such a standing ovation was rare, even more so for a non-competition film. Yet, a question lingered in their minds: was this the dawn of a new legend, or a singular moment of brilliance? Only time would tell if Lucas could maintain such captivating performances in his future projects. But for now, the thunderous applause spoke volumes, a collective recognition of a film and an actor that had truly moved them. Chapter 69, Path to Stardom. 127 Hours premiered in the non-competition section of the 2010 Sundance Film Festival, leaving audiences with a diverse spectrum of responses. While some reactions were mixed, a large portion of the crowd emerged captivated, expressing eagerness to share the film with friends and family during the festival's run. Following the screening, a Q&A session provided journalists with the opportunity to delve deeper with the film's cast and director. Lucas, typically reserved in the spotlight, handled the inquiries with characteristic politeness and thoughtful responses. However, the sheer number of inquiries from eager journalists meant some questions remained unanswered. Despite this, the atmosphere remained generally positive. Most journalists understood the limitations of the session, with one exception: a representative from Vulture magazine seemed personally frustrated. As Lucas and Boyle wrapped up the Q&A, an unexpected encounter awaited them. Ryan Gosling, an established actor, approached the pair, requesting a photo with both of them. This impromptu interaction added a touch of star power to the already momentous occasion. Ryan Gosling warmly embraced Lucas. "Dude, you were phenomenal out there," he exclaimed, genuine admiration in his voice. "Your performance blew me away." Lucas felt a surge of happiness. "Thank you, that means a lot coming from you," he smiled genuinely. Ryan then turned to greet Danny Boyle, and soon after, the group posed for photos against the festival's logo wall. As they continued their conversation, another renowned actor, Adrien Brody, approached. Brody extended his hand to Lucas, offering a firm handshake. "Bravo, Lucas," he praised sincerely. "Your performance was Oscar-worthy. I wouldn't be surprised if your name gets called on nomination day." Lucas, slightly blushing, chuckled. "Wow, that's incredibly kind of you to say," he replied humbly. "And that song at the end," Brody continued, "that deserves Grammy recognition too." "No doubt about it." Danny and Ryan, who had been listening intently, chuckled softly. Lucas shook his head with a sheepish grin. "Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves," he said politely, "but thank you both." "We're not getting ahead," Danny chimed in, patting Lucas on the shoulder. "That song was truly moving. The Grammy would be foolish to overlook it." Lucas smiled and joined Danny, Ryan Gosling, and Adrien Brody for the photo shoot. As the flashes subsided, a familiar figure approached the group, Jennifer Lawrence. "Oh, the Sundance darling graces us with her presence," Adrien remarked with a wink, greeting her with a friendly lobbies on the cheeks. Jennifer Lawrence met with Adrien Brody earlier for a photo during the festival. Jennifer chuckled and exchanged pleasantries with Ryan and Danny before reaching Lucas. "Hi again," she said, her smile genuine. "Good to see you." Lucas returned the smile, nodding. "You too. Looks like you came prepared this time for the snow," he teased, glancing at her boots. Jennifer's cheeks flushed slightly. "Yeah, everything felt a bit out of place on my first time," she admitted sheepishly. "Well, this is my first Sundance too," Lucas confessed, "but luckily, my agent made sure I packed appropriately." They shared a laugh, both relating to the experience of navigating a new festival. The conversation shifted to the films, and Jennifer offered her honest opinion. "Your performance in 127 Hours was fantastic, Lucas," she stated. "Honestly, if your film was in the US dramatic competition, I have no doubt it would be a strong contender for the grand jury prize." Lucas chuckled, deflecting the praise. "I don't know about that, but I saw yours in Winter's Bone, and you were phenomenal." Jennifer shook her head, her humility genuine. "No, not at all. Compared to yours, my performance doesn't hold a candle." They continued their conversation, filled with light-hearted banter and mutual respect. While Danny, Ryan, and Adrien engaged in their own discussion, Lucas and Jennifer's interaction laid the foundation for a budding friendship between two rising stars on the cusp of major breakthroughs. The energy at Sundance 2010 thrummed even after the premiere of 127 Hours. Throngs of filmmakers, journalists, and industry figures navigated the snowy streets, buzzing with anticipation and discussion. Among them, veteran film critic Kirk Honeycutt emerged from the theater deeply impressed by the young actor Lucas Knight's performance. Returning to his temporary workspace, Honeycutt wasted no time diving into his review for The Hollywood Reporter. His fingers flew across the keyboard as he praised the film, with particular emphasis on Knight's captivating portrayal. He saw in Knight a raw talent that could potentially propel him to an Oscar nomination. However, Honeycutt understood the complexities of the awards season. While Knight's performance deserved recognition, the final decision rested with the notoriously unpredictable Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. Personal relationships, political maneuvering, and the elusive it factor all played a role in the nominations process. Beyond Knight's individual performance, Honeycutt acknowledged the numerous factors that could impact his chances. The film's genre, studio support, and overall critical reception would all be weighed by the Academy members. Ultimately, while Honeycutt held out hope for Knight's nomination, he recognized the multifaceted nature of the process. While most journalists were impressed by Lucas Knight's performance, not everyone shared the enthusiasm. Kenneth Pierce from Vulture, for instance, expressed frustration because of being ignored in the Q&A session, and his subsequent review of 127 Hours reflected this, offering a less favorable take on the film and Knight's performance. While a few other journalists shared similar reservations about Knight's demeanor, these opinions didn't necessarily translate into negative reviews for the film itself. Regardless of individual critiques, the premiere thrust Lucas Knight into the spotlight. Whether praise or criticism, the media attention served as his unofficial introduction to the Hollywood stage. He had taken his first steps on the path to stardom, and the journey ahead promised to be a complex one, filled with both opportunities and challenges. Chapter 70, Beyond the Dylan's Persona. Anticipation hung heavy in the air after the 127 Hours premiere at Sundance. While embargoes kept official reviews under wraps, word-of-mouth buzz began to spread. Audience members, enthralled by the film, shared their positive experiences with friends and family, fueling curiosity and interest. The next day's early screening saw a surge in attendance. However, a whisper preceded the film: "Close your eyes during the amputation scene." This cryptic warning, coupled with the embargo on reviews, piqued the audience's fascination. In the absence of official critique, some journalists seized the opportunity to report on audience reactions. Reports of audience members fainting during the amputation scene began to emerge. As the articles detailing fainting incidents emerged, it further amplified the intrigue surrounding 127 Hours. It's important to note that the extent of this phenomenon remains unclear. Some at Sundance, drawn by whispers of a fainting-inducing scene, might have sought out the film for that very reason. Regardless of the motivation, 127 Hours undoubtedly garnered significant attention, fueled by a mix of organic word-of-mouth and sensationalized media reports. Lucas Knight's guest appearance as Dylan in the latest episodes of Modern Family generated mixed reactions among fans, particularly those who had embraced the character in Episode 4. In that episode, Dylan received significant attention, leading some viewers to hope for a more prominent role in subsequent episodes. However, later episodes featured Dylan only briefly, or he wasn't included at all. This shift left some fans feeling frustrated and underwhelmed. It's important to note that Dylan was always intended as a guest character, not a permanent member of the main cast. This naturally limits his screen time and involvement in the show's overall narrative. While some fans understandably desired more Dylan, many others recognized the inherent limitations of his role. Instead of pushing for Dylan to become a central focus, many fans shifted their attention to Lucas Knight, the actor who brought the character to life. His charismatic portrayal sparked interest in his career and future projects. A spark ignited in the Dylan fan community when a dedicated supporter posted photos of Lucas Knight at the 2010 Sundance Film Festival on Yahoo. The post, titled "OMG, guys! I saw the actor who played Dylan in Modern Family in the film festival," featured pictures of Knight posing with the iconic Sundance logo wall behind him. The post quickly garnered attention, particularly among Dylan supporters. Fans chimed in with comments expressing surprise and excitement. "He's at Sundance this year?" inquired one fan, recognizing the festival backdrop. "Is he presenting something? I would have flown out if I knew," exclaimed another, eager for details. The original poster responded, clarifying the situation. Turns out, Lucas Knight is actually there for the premiere of his debut film, 127 Hours. I just watched it earlier today, and it's an emotional roller coaster. Lucas's performance was incredible. This revelation sparked further interest, with fans eager to learn more about the film and Knight's role. The post served as an unexpected bridge between Knight's role in Modern Family and his burgeoning film career. Not all Dylan fans were immediately sold on the idea of Lucas Knight's debut film. One commenter expressed skepticism, stating, 127 hours? I assumed it was just a resume filler for Lucas, didn't realize it was an actual film. This sparked a discussion within the thread, with other fans offering clarification. It's a real movie, directed by Oscar winner Danny Boyle. Danny Boyle directing? Now I'm intrigued, even if I wasn't sure about Lucas before. The original poster further fueled the discussion, sharing first-hand experiences. Fans of director Boyle actually came to support 127 Hours, including my friends. They all praised Lucas's performance. I think they even turned some Dylan fans. I mean, Lucas fans, hehe. This positive feedback, coupled with the film's directorial pedigree, evidently piqued the interest of some Dylan supporters. Inspired by the online discussion and their growing appreciation for Lucas, a few fans even decided to book flights to Sundance to watch the film and show support for the young actor. As news spread that Lucas Knight, the actor who played Dylan on Modern Family, had a leading role in a film premiering at the prestigious Sundance Film Festival 2010, many Dylan fans took a closer look at his IMDb profile. Previously, some had dismissed it as incomplete or lacking updates. Now, with newfound interest, they discovered 127 hours listed and realized they had missed his film debut. A wave of regret washed over dedicated fans who hadn't been paying close attention. While 127 hours may have initially seemed like a minor project, the Sundance premiere elevated its significance and Lucas's involvement. The missed opportunity to witness the film alongside an Oscar-winning director like Danny Boyle and their new idol, Lucas Knight, spurred some fans to become more proactive followers of his career. Seeing the film's poster on IMDb, fans noted Lucas's appearance, observing how he looked slightly older and sported brown hair compared to the actor's real appearance. However, the resemblance was clear, and they recognized it as the same actor as Dylan. Following its premiere, 127 Hours continued to screen throughout the Sundance Film Festival, attracting new audiences, including dedicated fans of Lucas Knight's character Dylan from Modern Family. Some of these fans, determined to support Lucas, managed to secure tickets and watch the film. Their experience proved transformative. Initially just Dylan supporters, now gradually transitioning into Lucas Knight supporters, after these fans found themselves captivated by Lucas's powerful performance as Aaron Ralston in 127 Hours. Moved and impressed, they took to online forums like Yahoo to share their praise, avoiding spoilers but highlighting Lucas's talent. This generated significant buzz, not only among Dylan supporters but also within the wider Modern Family fandom. Lucas, that was just known as Dylan to many, was quietly carving his own path in the industry. He was transitioning beyond his limited role, that was known only by the name Dylan, and establishing himself as a talented actor with his own name, Lucas Knight. Chapter 71, Festival Awards. The 2010 Sundance Film Festival buzzed with energy as it was gradually entering its first week. Amidst the premieres and screenings, excitement was building for the upcoming awards ceremony on January 26, particularly for the short film and next award categories. For Lucas, attending the festival held even more personal significance. While there, he bumped into none other than Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who was also present this year's Sundance Film Festival. Lucas, with a friendly nod, offered a simple greeting, "Hey Joseph, good to see you here." Joseph, amidst an interview with a journalist, turned his head in surprise. "Lucas? Wow, didn't expect to run into you." He returned the greeting with a smile. Lucas chuckled, Joseph's hand resting briefly on his shoulder. "Yeah, actually, my film got screened here at the festival." Joseph's eyebrows shot up in surprise. "Really? You have a film in the festival?" Lucas confirmed with a nod. "It's in the non-competition section, but it's been getting a good reception so far." Joseph offered a polite nod, though his mind was mostly focused on his upcoming responsibilities at the ceremony. He was slated to announce awards for the Sundance short films before heading out of the festival. As days melted into each other at the 2010 Sundance Film Festival, excitement crackled in the air. From January 26 to 29, the winners in various film categories were announced, building anticipation for the grand awards ceremony on January 30. Lucas, amidst the festival's energy, attended the awards ceremony on the 30th. The night shimmered with the presence of talented individuals. As he navigated the event, he found himself interacting with esteemed names like Deborah Granick, Jennifer L., John Hughes Anglade, and Julie Gayet, etc. The atmosphere, with established figures and rising stars mingling and celebrating each other's work, reminded him of the Golden Globes, despite never having attended that gala. The palpable camaraderie and appreciation amongst the creative community created a similar aura of celebration. While Lucasfilm, 127 Hours, was screened outside the competition, it garnered significant buzz among both audiences and filmmakers. The controversial amputation scenes, said to have caused fainting spells in some viewers, sparked conversations and further highlighted Lucas' captivating performance as the lead. The film's distinct position outside the competition yet generating acclaim seemed to fuel its impact. Lucas' powerful performance in 127 Hours drew attention and sparked interest among many filmmakers at Sundance. Throughout the festival, he was approached by several who expressed their desire to collaborate in future projects. Lucas, sporting professionalism and courteous, engaged in these conversations, building connections and exploring potential opportunities. Beyond these individual interactions, Lucas found himself further thrust into the spotlight during the Sundance Film Festival Awards ceremony. Festival director John Cooper, despite knowing 127 Hours wasn't eligible for competition awards, took a moment on stage to commend the film and specifically acknowledge Lucas' performance. This unexpected praise drew the attention of the entire audience, turning heads towards Lucas in recognition. While 127 Hours wasn't part of the competition, John Cooper's genuine appreciation served as a powerful endorsement for both the film and Lucas' talent. This unexpected endorsement added fuel to the fire. Celebrities, both established and rising stars, who hadn't yet seen 127 Hours found their interest piqued. The brief yet impactful spotlight on Lucas and the film 127 Hours left a lingering question in the air: what is this film about, and why is it garnering such attention? Director Danny Boyle, fresh from his Oscar win, attracted established actors, starlets, and filmmakers seeking connections. Recognizing the impact of his status, Boyle excused himself with Lucas to leave early. Lucas remained for the rest of the awards, offering applause when Winter's Bone received recognition, including a Best Screenplay Award and a Grand Jury Prize. Notably, Jennifer Lawrence, the lead actress in Winter's Bone, was nominated for the Independent Spirit Award for Best Female Lead. Interestingly, Lucas' expression seemed to reveal mixed emotions, perhaps reflecting the bittersweet nature of the event. While 127 Hours wasn't vying for official awards, it had clearly struck a chord with audiences. Some audience members, having witnessed Lucas' portrayal, offered sympathetic looks, but also expressed optimism about his potential Oscar nomination. While Jennifer Lawrence didn't win the Independent Spirit Award, both she and Lucas were generating Oscar buzz, adding to the anticipation surrounding their careers. The Sundance Film Festival drew to a close, and Lucas returned to his hotel with mixed emotions. While the festival had been a whirlwind of excitement and networking, it also marked the end of his immediate involvement. Lucas was booked for an early flight back to Los Angeles. His agency, IAA, had already secured him an early shooting schedule for Modern Family episodes, ensuring a smooth transition from one project to the next. Lucas' agency, IAA, had strategically scheduled early filming for his role in Modern Family to coincide with his Sundance attendance. This foresight proved beneficial, offering a seamless transition into acting as Arthur in Christopher Nolan's Inception, which required full commitment soon after. Beyond just scheduling, IAA recognized the growing traction of Perfect, the song Lucas performed in Modern Family Episode 4. The song was subsequently featured in several Modern Family episodes, prompting IAA, aware of Lucas's copyright ownership, to pursue royalty fees from the production company. Initially, the ABC network, responsible for Modern Family, was hesitant. However, Lucas's lack of previous leverage due to an unestablished agency no longer applied. With IAA representing him, the network had little choice but to negotiate. Prior to signing with IAA, there was a possibility that the ABC network and 20th Century Fox, responsible for Modern Family, might have extended Lucas' role as Dylan beyond its initial guest star agreement due to the character's popularity. Lucas' lack of agency representation at the time could have made it difficult for him to negotiate advantageous terms. However, with IAA representing his interests, the dynamic changed. The network and studio could no longer potentially leverage Lucas' position. Additionally, his agency could now negotiate for fairer compensation, considering the impact his performance had on the show's success. The initial $8,000 per episode fee would likely be renegotiated upwards, reflecting his increased value and market demand. Chapter 72, wrapped up. Returning to the familiar set of Modern Family, Lucas was met by a noticeably warmer reception from the crew than during his initial stint. The contrast was stark. His first time on set lacked the same welcoming atmosphere and easy interactions he was experiencing now. This shift sparked curiosity within Lucas, prompting him to wonder what had changed. The answer soon became clear. As Lucas greeted the show's creators, Stephen Levitan and Christopher Lloyd, they offered congratulations on his role in the film 127 Hours, directed by the established Danny Boyle. Christopher, in particular, remarked, "I see you're making significant moves outside the show, hey." His tone hinted at genuine interest. Stephen's gaze also held a newfound appreciation for Lucas. Lucas, acknowledging their support, responded with a smile and a grateful, "It was actually thanks to you, sir, thank you for the recommendation letter." Christopher, caught off guard by Lucas's success, simply nodded. He hadn't anticipated the impact his letter would have, nor did he expect it to propel Lucas so quickly towards Hollywood prominence. Lucas' return to the set wasn't just about catching up with the crew. He also had the chance to reconnect with the main cast, including the Dunphy family. The greetings were warm and familiar, with genuine excitement palpable in the air. Naturally, the conversation shifted to Lucas' recent film, 127 Hours. The cast, particularly the younger actors, were curious about his experience in the film itself. Lucas, ever personable, shared anecdotes and insights, sparking lively discussions about the project and the challenges it presented. He couldn't help but notice a few younger cast members glancing at him with a mix of curiosity and, perhaps, a spark of something else, admiration tinged with a hint of envy. It seemed that Lucas's success in a major cinematic role, outside the sitcom world, had garnered newfound respect and ignited aspirations within them. This subtle shift in dynamics highlighted Lucas's evolving position. He was no longer just Dylan from Modern Family. He was an actor who had ventured beyond the sitcom stage, proving his versatility and ambition. Sarah Hyland posed a question that sparked a lively discussion. "Lucas," she asked, "when will you finally release a proper recording of your song, Perfect?" Nolan, now accustomed to the presence of main and guest stars like Lucas, echoed Sarah's sentiment. "Agreed. I've been waiting for a full version. It felt like it was missing something." Julie and Ty nodded in agreement, clearly sharing the same opinion. Lucas chuckled, "Funny, I thought only my agent was pushing for that. I didn't know you all felt the same way." His light-hearted response drew soft laughter from the group. "Well, we do," Sarah affirmed. "You've got talent for songwriter, no doubt about it." Lucas, appreciating their genuine interest, offered a reassuring smile. "If the opportunity arises, an album might be on the cards. But for now, my focus is on acting." This news sparked excitement, especially among Sarah, Ariel, and Nolan, who occasionally listened to Perfect on repeat. They knew Lucas possessed a unique musical talent, and the possibility of a full album was intriguing. The show creators briefed the cast, outlining the scene and their roles. The production crew meticulously arranged props, adjusted lighting, and ensured everything was ready for action. Lucas mingled with the main cast, exchanging pleasantries and running lines. Makeup artists worked their magic, transforming actors into their characters. Lucas, among them, donned his Dylan attire, ready for his upcoming scene. In this scene, Dylan would enter the Dunphy house, bearing a special gift for Haley. Anticipation hung in the air as everyone awaited Lucas's entrance. The gift in question wasn't just any ordinary present. It was a painting, a unique and slightly provocative one at that. The artwork depicted Dylan, shirtless and clad only in pants, cuddling a smiling Haley. This artful representation was actually captured during a photo shoot Lucas with Sarah had done before his trip to London. When Claire and Phil, Haley's parents, set eyes on the painting, their reactions promised comedic effect with their speechless expression. The scene, even without sound effects, held the potential for hilarious awkwardness. The juxtaposition of the casual gift-giving gesture with the suggestive painting was bound to spark laughter. While Lucas strived to add complexity to Dylan's character, his limited appearances and guidance from the writers to maintain a light-hearted portrayal resulted in a persona perceived as lacking intellectual depth. However, this translated effectively on screen as endearing goofiness, making Dylan a comedic favorite among viewers. The storyline eventually brought Dylan and Haley back together, mending their relationship as scripted. As filming wrapped, Lucas engaged in post-production discussions with the writers, director, casts and co-stars, savoring the experience before bidding them farewell. As February neared, the start of Christopher Nolan's Inception loomed large on the horizon, sparking excitement in Lucas. Determined to embody the character of Arthur to perfection, Lucas dedicated himself to intensive mind workshops. These sessions allowed him to refine his acting skills and explore the nuances of his character's complex psyche within the dream-bending world of Inception. During his busy schedule, Lucas found time to reconnect with old friends, reaching out through calls to catch up in news regarding their personal life. He also shared his personal interest in Bitcoin, suggesting they consider investing in the emerging cryptocurrency. Lucas, evidently enthusiastic about its potential, even planned offering his friend Paul a significant amount of Bitcoin, a staggering 10,000 Bitcoin. However, Paul, unfamiliar with the concept and its potential, dismissed the offer. Lucas's phone buzzed, and with a jolt of excitement, he answered. It was John Papsidera, the casting director for Arthur, confirming the news Lucas had been eagerly awaiting: Inception was finally filming. However, he was reminded by John, Lucas wouldn't be returning to London as he'd initially anticipated. A pang of disappointment hit him. He'd enjoyed exploring the vibrant city and its unique charm. But the allure of the project quickly overshadowed his momentary letdown. He learned that the filming would primarily take place in studio settings, offering a different kind of experience. John also mentioned that the production would provide combat training for the corridor fight scene, something Lucas had already extensively practiced during his mind workshops. This reassured him and demonstrated the film's commitment to detail and action sequences. Drawing on his past life's knowledge, Lucas knew that while Inception would be shot across several countries, locations like Tokyo wouldn't require the cast to be physically present. The actual filming for those scenes would occur in Morocco, Los Angeles, and Canada, and some places that Lucas didn't yet fully know. This logistical approach, coupled with the significant budget backed by Warner Brothers, underscored the film's ambitious scope and potential. On a personal note, Lucas remembered that his current body's father was a director at Warner Brothers Studios, adding a layer of serendipity to his involvement in the project. Chapter 73, Warner Brothers Studio HQ. The February air of Burbank, California held a crisp chill as Lucas stepped out of the taxi. Just across the street, the iconic Warner Brothers Studio HQ loomed, its sprawling presence dwarfing even the nearby palm trees. Unlike the more intimate atmosphere of Fox Searchlight, this building exuded a different kind of energy. It was grand, imposing, a concrete testament to the studio's long and prestigious history. Lucas' mind replayed his conversation with John Papsidera. The prospect of meeting here, at the one of Hollywood royalty, sent a flutter of anticipation through him. He pulled out his phone and dialed John's number, confirming the meeting location and access procedures. Minutes later, a familiar figure emerged from the studio doors. John's friendly smile dispelled any remaining nervousness. After a warm handshake and brief greetings, John ushered Lucas inside. Stepping through the automatic doors, Lucas entered the Warner Brothers studio, a titan among Hollywood's Big Six. The air inside was cool and hushed, a stark contrast to the bustling energy of the Burbank streets. The lobby stretched before him, vast and airy, with soaring ceilings adorned with intricate plasterwork. Gleaming lights cast a warm glow, illuminating historical photographs and movie posters lining the walls. People moved with quiet efficiency, assistants hurried past, scripts clutched in their hands. A group of writers huddled in a corner, their animated discussion punctuated by bursts of laughter. The air hummed with a quiet energy, a subtle tension that spoke of the creative forces at work within these walls. As Lucas followed John deeper into the studio, the grandeur of the lobby gave way to a more functional aesthetic. Corridors lined with production offices buzzed with activity. Sets of various sizes peeked through open doors. As Lucas and John walked deeper into the studio, the bustling energy around them shifted. Where before they'd encountered writers and production assistants, now the air thrummed with the focused purpose of an active film set. They had reached the designated area for Inception, a self-contained world within the larger studio. Across the expansive floor, towering green walls stretched into the distance, hinting at scenes destined for computer-generated scenes. Tables overflowing with scripts, storyboards, and character sketches, surrounded by individuals diligently scribbling notes or discussing scenes in hushed tones. Crew members in various departments navigated the space with practiced ease, their movements forming a synchronized dance of pre-production preparation. Suddenly, John stopped and turned to Lucas with a warm smile. "Lucas, this is it," he announced. "Let's get you acquainted with the team." As Lucas stepped forward, a wave of greetings and curious glances washed over him. John began with the key figures: David Burt, Lucas' stand-in who would mirror his movements for complex scenes, Andy Bradshaw, the experienced stunt double who would handle the more demanding physical sequences, and R.J. Casey, the seasoned stunt performer who would guide Lucas through the intricacies of fight choreography. "Don't worry, Lucas," John reassured him, sensing a flicker of apprehension in his eyes. "You don't need to become a black belt overnight. The goal is to learn enough to make the fight scenes believable and impactful. They'll teach you everything you need to know." Lucas' face remained neutral, offering a simple nod in response. While his exterior was composed, his mind thrummed with a secret disappointment. He had spent countless hours in his mind workshop, meticulously practicing the fight choreography and movements for these very scenes. He knew, deep down, that his body could handle the physical demands with ease. Yet, as an actor, a yearning flickered within him. He harbored a desire to tackle every aspect of the performance, to fully embody Arthur without relying on others. But logic quickly doused the flames of ambition. Pushing for such a decision could disrupt the production's flow, causing unnecessary discomfort. Besides, he was well aware of his position, a supporting role in this grand cinematic project. His voice, while important, wasn't the one leading the orchestra. Instead of dwelling on what could not be, Lucas chose to embrace the opportunity. He would learn from the experts, absorbing their knowledge and refining his skills under their guidance. His ultimate goal remained unchanged: to deliver a captivating performance as Arthur, to bring the character to life in a way that resonated with audiences, even if it wasn't through death-defying stunts. The success of Inception was paramount, and his contribution, no matter how seemingly small, would be a part of that success. While the Inception project was indeed buzzing with activity, filming wasn't in full swing just yet. The current focus was on capturing exterior shots and establishing scenes in various international locations. These sequences, devoid of actors for the moment, would later blend seamlessly with the character-driven scenes filmed later. The groundwork for these international shoots had been laid months ago, and the crew had been diligently capturing the necessary footage. These location shoots set the stage for the main story, which was about to kick off in a week or so. February 15 marked the official commencement of principal photography, where the cast, including Leonardo DiCaprio, would finally begin their journey into Cobb's dreamscapes. So, what was Lucas doing in the studio already? His presence was specifically to learn the intricate choreography for upcoming fight scenes. While Leonardo DiCaprio and other cast members had been diligently prepping for action sequences for months, including fight choreography, Lucas, due to scheduling conflicts, arrived later. This intensive pre-filming practice session aimed to ensure his movements reflected the character's skill and added authenticity to the action sequences. This meant an intense training session with stunt performer RJ. As they began rehearsing the fight scene, Lucas surprised RJ with his fluidity and precision. His movements reflected a honed skill, far exceeding what could be learned in a few days. "Wow, I wasn't expecting this," RJ exclaimed, impressed. "It seems like you've been training hard even before joining us." Lucas chuckled. "Let's just say I have a few unconventional training methods," he replied. RJ nodded, understanding the need for some privacy. "Well, you've definitely picked up most of it already," he admitted. "There are a few minor adjustments we can make for consistency, but you're a natural." This pre-production phase, with its mix of international filming and dedicated rehearsals, offered a glimpse into the meticulous planning and collaborative effort behind bringing Inception to life. It highlighted the diverse tasks involved, from capturing stunning landscapes to preparing actors for physically demanding roles. Chapter 74, Casts. Inside the studio, the air crackled with the energy of rehearsal. Lucas and R.J. Casey, the stunt performer, moved in a dance of mock violence, each blow punctuated by grunts and the thud of padded fists. Lucas, taking R.J.'s advice to heart, incorporated subtle tweaks into the choreography, his movements gaining new fluidity and power. The intensity of the session left both men sweating and breathless. As RJ caught his breath, he grinned at Lucas. "All right, you definitely nailed it. Fast learner, that's for sure. No doubt you'll kill it in the fight scenes. Lucas returned the grin, his muscles screaming but his spirit soaring. He accepted a water bottle from a passing crew member, chugging it down gratefully. A week had flown by since he arrived in this studio, and the intensity of the training had surprised even him. While not exactly luxurious, the studio provided a comfortable enough space for him to rest. He shared a room with several other crew members, a far cry from his usual living arrangements. But the camaraderie, the shared passion for the project, made up for the lack of plush amenities. Lucas pondered his situation. He wasn't naive, he knew the treatment could be considered rough by some actors' standards. But amidst the long days and shared quarters, he saw the dedication, the collaborative spirit that fueled every aspect of the production. Lucas stretched his sore muscles, the memory of his intense training session with R.J. Casey and other stunt performers still fresh in his mind. It had been a whirlwind week since his agent, Vincent from IAA, contacted him about the Inception contract. Negotiations, initially tense with the initial offer falling short of Lucas' expectations, had progressed smoothly. Vincent, a tenacious negotiator with a genuine understanding of Lucas' talent, had managed to secure a significant increase. Lucas, initially hesitant, had been impressed by Vincent's dedication. The final terms were far more palatable, a base fee of $700,000, a hefty jump from the initial $100,000 offer. There were even performance-based bonuses tied to nominations and awards, a testament to both Lucas' potential and the film's anticipated impact. Signing the contract had felt like a pivotal moment. It wasn't just a financial validation, but a recognition of his journey as an actor. The weight of the opportunity wasn't lost on him. Inception wasn't just any film, it was a Christopher Nolan project, a chance to work alongside legends like Leonardo DiCaprio. As the week progressed, anticipation crackled in the air as the cast of Inception gradually assembled. The first to grace the studio was Ken Watanabe, his presence radiating quiet humility. John Papsidera, along with his fellow casting director, ushered him through the introductions, pairing him with his stunt double and stand-in. Among the milling crowd, Lucas, recognizing the esteemed actor, approached Ken with a friendly smile. "Mr. Watanabe," he began, "it's an honor to meet you. I'm Lucas Knight." Watanabe returned the smile, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "The pleasure is mine, Lucas Knight. Please, call me Ken." The conversation flowed easily from there, both actors discussing their roles and their shared respect for director Christopher Nolan. Watanabe spoke of his admiration for Nolan's ability to craft complex narratives and his meticulous attention to detail. The shared appreciation for Nolan's unique directorial vision seemed to bridge the gap between them, fostering a sense of camaraderie. As the day progressed, the studio welcomed another cast. Marion Cotillard, her elegance radiating a quiet power, graced the set with a warm smile. Next came Lucas Haas. The moment Lucas met Lucas Haas, a playful twinkle lit up his eyes. "Looks like there's two Lucases in town now. Better start using our full names." He chuckled, sparking laughter and easing the tension as they bonded over their shared name. Soon, the room buzzed with animated conversations, with actors and writers collaborating on scenes. The arrival most eagerly awaited finally occurred a few hours later. Leonardo DiCaprio, clad in a casual t-shirt and sunglasses, entered the room, accompanied by an assistant. His presence, while unassuming, commanded respect and admiration. He wasn't the only one with an assistant. Marion and Lucas Haas also had their own support teams, a testament to their established careers and hectic schedules. Even amidst the bustling activity, eyes turned his way, and the director, Christopher Nolan, himself rose to greet him with a warm smile. Leonardo, ever gracious, returned the gesture with his own easygoing charm, engaging in conversation with Nolan and several key crew members. It was a brief exchange, yet it spoke volumes about the mutual respect and collaborative spirit that defined the production. Lucas, observing from the periphery, noted how Leonardo bypassed any superfluous small talk. He quickly moved towards the other cast members, offering warm handshakes and nods of greeting. Removing his sunglasses with a practiced flick, he scanned the group with focused intensity, his demeanor shifting from casual to professional in an instant. Without further ado, the room transitioned into a hive of activity. Scripts were consulted, scenes were discussed, and rehearsals began. Lucas, impressed by Leonardo's immediate immersion into the process, couldn't help but admire his professionalism. There were no airs or ego trips, just a dedication to the craft and a clear understanding of the task at hand. The director and crew, naturally, gravitated towards Leonardo. He was the protagonist, the anchor of the film, and his presence demanded a certain level of attention. But there was no arrogance in his demeanor, no airs of superiority. The occasional flash of pride Lucas perceived was more a reflection of the immense responsibility Leonardo carried, the weight of expectation that came with being a leading man. However, Lucas wasn't intimidated. He recognized and respected Leonardo's achievements, but also knew his own worth. He wouldn't be overshadowed. This project presented an opportunity and he will deliver his best. As the day progressed, the focus shifted from individual scenes to collaborative rehearsals, involving the entire cast. The air crackled with creative energy as ideas were exchanged, characters explored, and scenes being fully rehearsed. Chapter 75, Opening Sequence Filming Inception. The air crackled with anticipation on the set of Inception. The opening sequence was about to be filmed, and the energy was palpable. A hive of activity buzzed around the casts. Crew members scurried to their stations, cameras were meticulously adjusted, and the actors stood poised against the vibrant green screen. Lucas, already into his character, had himself positioned alongside seasoned veterans, Leonardo DiCaprio, radiating quiet intensity as Cobb, and Ken Watanabe, embodying the cunning Sato. The table before them, a key element of the scene, stood stark against the green screen wall. A complex mix of emotions swirled within Lucas. Excitement pulsed through him, the thrill of sharing the screen with one of the most respected actors in the industry. Yet, he knew he needed to keep it in check. Letting his emotions overspill could disrupt the immersion for the others, jeopardizing the delicate balance of the scene. He took a deep breath, channeling his nervous energy into his character. Leonardo, poised and ready, sat in his marked position on the set. The weight of the scene, the opening sequence of Inception, settled comfortably on his shoulders. He had already meticulously rehearsed with the young actor beside him, Lucas, who had earned the role of Arthur. Despite his experience, a flicker of uncertainty crossed Leonardo's mind. Lucas, talented as he was, carried the weight of a pivotal role entrusted to a newcomer. Could he handle the pressure? Leonardo quickly suppressed that thought. Every actor had to start somewhere, and his own journey wasn't without its initial anxieties. Action! As the director's voice signaled the start of the scene, Leonardo seamlessly slipped into character. The green screen, a blank canvas, promised the opulent halls of Nijo Castle once the CGI magic was applied. Leonardo DiCaprio, embodying the character of Cobb, swirled his wine glass, his gaze fixed on the feast before him. A bacteria? A virus? He mused, his voice a low rumble. An intestinal worm. Ken Watanabe, playing the stoic Sato, paused mid-forkful, his eyes narrowing at Cobb's theatrics. A sly grin played on Leonardo's lips, relishing the discomfort he'd sparked. This was the moment. Lucas, stepping into the role of Arthur, felt the weight of anticipation settle on him. He sensed Sato's unease and instinctively reached out to bridge the gap. "What is Mr. Cobb is trying to say?" he began, his voice measured and professional. But Cobb cut him off with a flourish. "An idea," he declared, his eyes gleaming with mischief. "Resilient, highly contagious. Once it takes hold in the brain, it's almost impossible to eradicate." Cobb leaned in, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "A person can cover it up, ignore it." He paused, letting the silence hang heavy. "But it stays there." Director Christopher Nolan's gaze scanned the scene, perched behind the monitor, a meticulous observer behind the camera. Leonardo DiCaprio, as Cobb, delivered his lines with Leonardo's acting trademark intensity, his eyes holding the weight of the character's complex motivations. Nolan nodded in approval, appreciating the seasoned actor's professional polish. But his attention wasn't solely on the established star. He also kept a watchful eye on Lucas, the young actor portraying Arthur. Nolan had witnessed Lucas's full potential during solo rehearsals, a raw talent brimming with promise. Yet, during earlier rehearsals with Leonardo, Lucas's performance had seemed subdued, almost restrained. Had the pressure of sharing the screen with such a veteran such as Leonardo intimidated him? Had he held back, unsure of his own abilities? A hint of concern had flickered in Nolan's mind. But now, as Lucas stepped fully into the scene, that concern dissipated. His movements were confident, his voice held conviction. Nolan felt a surge of satisfaction. The air crackled with tension as Sato, portrayed by Ken Watanabe, responded to Cobb's provocative statement. "For someone like you to steal?" he inquired, his voice laced with suspicion. Lucas, embodying Arthur, held his composure, his movements conveying professionalism despite the weight of the conversation. Yes, he replied, his tone measured. In the dream state, conscious defenses are lowered and your thoughts become vulnerable to theft. He paused, sensing the scrutiny of both men upon him. It's called extraction. Leonardo, as Cobb, felt a flicker of surprise at the young actor's confident delivery. Lucas exuded an aura of Arthur's expertise, surprising both him and Sato. However, their seasoned professionalism allowed them to remain in character despite the slight jolt. Cobb, seamlessly continuing the scene, leaned to Sato. But Mr. Sato, he murmured, his voice conspiratorial, we offer a unique service. We can train your subconscious to defend itself, even against the most skilled extractor. Sato's eyebrows shot up further. He countered, intrigued despite his initial skepticism. How can you do that? Cobb, his voice a low rumble, leaned forward, his gaze pinning Sato's. Because I am the most skilled extractor. He declared, each word laced with quiet confidence. I know how to search your mind and find your secrets. I know the tricks, and I can teach them to your subconscious so that even when you're asleep, your guard is never down. The intensity of his gaze never wavered, the promise both alluring and unsettling. But if I'm going to help you, you have to be completely open to me. I'll need to know my way around your thoughts better than your wife, your analyst, anyone. If this is a dream and you've got a safe full of secrets, I need to know what's in that safe. For this to work, you have to let me in. A faint smile played on Sato's lips, a hint of amusement masking something deeper. He rose, a silent signal to his bodyguard who effortlessly swung open the doors, revealing a dazzling scene, a lavish party thrumming with life. Gentlemen, Sato's voice cut through the distant music, enjoy your evening as I consider your proposal. With that, he left into the opulent throng, leaving Cobb and Arthur alone in the hushed room. Arthur turned to Cobb, his voice laced with a mix of apprehension and something darker, a flicker of worries dancing in his eyes. He knows, he whispered, the weight of those words heavy in the air.
Thanks for listening.